Thought I'd come out and talk about Bitcoin. The family's kind of sitting around watching TV, playing on the internet themselves. And I was reading an article talking about how the ECB has come out saying that Bitcoin has failed as a real currency or something of that nature. And I just kind of laugh at this. And the idea that Bitcoin is going to somehow fail, like there won't be any Bitcoin going into the future, or how somehow Bitcoin is not going through the network effect right now as more people are transacting with it. Now, I do understand that it will never really work as a currency, but the reasonings that the ECB is giving, I think, is quite comical in the sense that there is far more value to it than what anybody is ever giving it credit for. Um, but this is kind of an interesting topic because it keeps coming up for me today. Like, I don't know how many like people I actually talked to about Bitcoin. Like, I kind of made fun of it a little bit earlier when I was doing a sale because I always kind of have the same thing that I tell people when they come up to the counter. A lot of you don't know I work at a retail store. I do lumber sales for a living, right? So I do retail sales. And so I'm sitting there and I'm ringing this customer up, and he was just like, "Oh, do you take credit card?" Or I forget, did he take like American Express or something? He named a credit card, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll take all the credit cards: gold, silver, cash, cut diamonds, treasury bonds, Bitcoin, whatever you got." Right? And I always say that when people ask me what kind of money I take, because I tell them I just basically list it all off. And he's actually said, "You'll take Bitcoin?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take Bitcoin." And I just kind of was kind of just blowing it off. I wasn't really even really engaging in the conversation. And I'm trying to give him his receipt, and he says, "You'll really take Bitcoin here?" And I said, "I will take your Bitcoin, put it in my wallet, and then I will pay for your transaction. So yes, I will take Bitcoin from you and fulfill this transaction. Yes." And he kind of laughed, and he's like, "Oh," because he was thinking the store would take it. And I'm like, "Well, no, my boss would never take Bitcoin because he doesn't, he wouldn't take gold or silver either. He would only take cash. That's the only thing he will ever take." But anyway, as we got, how many people we got in here? 32 people with 7 likes. Hit the like button as soon as you get into the live stream. YouTube loves it when those when the engagements happen. That's through comments and likes. So the more you like the video, the more you comment, the more YouTube loves it, the more they spread this around. But the other gentleman I was talking with today said he doesn't really understand Bitcoin at all. Like, he doesn't get it. Like, what kind of usefulness does it have? It's just like nothing. It's zero, right? And I said, "Well, like, what do you use gold for? Like, think about it like gold." And he says, "Well, gold has an industrial use." And I said, "It does. It does have an industrial use, but a lot of people will pull it out of the ground and then go stick it in a vault. So now it sits in a, like, the majority of it sits in a vault, doesn't do anything. So it's, yeah, it could be used as an industrial metal, and it does have purpose in that sense. But then when you think about it, really, like the majority of it doesn't do anything. It just sits there, right? So like gold is not any better than, than Bitcoin in that sense, since it doesn't really do anything in that fashion, right? But I told him, it was just like, so Bitcoin can actually do something though. You can transact with somebody on the other side of the world, and they don't have, I mean, you, as long as they have internet access, you don't have to like ask permission or have banks or authority or nobody. It's like, peer to peer. So that's something that you can't really do with gold, right? You have to physically be there for gold or send it or trust or something like that. There is no trust when it comes to Bitcoin and then be in the availability of it to do a transaction. Geez, I'm having a hard time talking. So again, we think about it. It's just like, so is gold and Bitcoin really the same thing? No, not really. I mean, Bitcoin is a digital currency. Gold is a physical currency. They can both act as the same thing. They're both limited in some sense. But at the end of the day, they're not really the same thing. And so again, like he asked me, it was like, "Well, it's just a computer program. So what really is it?" And I said, "Man, this is kind of a hard one to really describe, right? Because if you're not like computer tech savvy, then like, and I'm not a computer geek. So really have to break it down to like the easiest understanding of what Bitcoin is. And it comes down to a ledger. If you could just imagine, so I got this ledger right here, like say I got this book and I write down the transaction, like I see all-nighters up in here. So all-nighter and I do a transaction, we write it down in this book, right? All-nighter and I spent 1 Bitcoin and I sent it to all-nighter. And it shows, and I have it on this ledger. Well, if you can imagine, every single person in the entire world who has a Bitcoin wallet has a copy of that ledger. The moment that I write it down, it appears in their ledger as well. Right? And everybody has the exact same ledger, and there's no way of disrupting this thing to make it like manipulate it or change it unless you take a 51% attack, right? So if you can take over 51% of the miners, then you can change anything you want about it. However, the computing power that it would take in order to overwhelm the system to take 51% to change the ledger is just far beyond belief. Like it would, I can't even comprehend how much power that must take to do that, and coordination, right, and effort, and like it's just not even feasible. So Bitcoin holds a security level to it that is far beyond anything that anybody could ever possibly touch. Like, I'm not saying possibly, but as far as we know, can touch. And then we get into quantum computing, right? Because that's going to blow everybody away. The quantum computing is supposed to break and hack and do all the, encryption breaking stuff in the entire world. Now, I am not smart enough to understand how computers work, to understand how quantum computing works, or how that it's going to hack the Bitcoin. I'm not saying that it can or can't or won't or will. I'm not saying any part of that, but I have heard some people who are pretty damn smart about Bitcoin, and the way that they have talked about it is that there is levels of security that then keep that from happening as well. So I don't know at the end of the day if it will. I trust Bitcoin enough. I trust Bitcoin people who have talked about it enough, because I don't know enough about computers or programming, but I do have a certain level of belief that it is going to be somewhat of a, not even somewhat, but be some use as a store of value, if that's what you're going to kind of consider it, going into forever, right? That's going to be, the program will continue, right? Now, in that sense, I like gold better than Bitcoin, right? And there's a reason why I like gold better than Bitcoin, and that is because if you take all the ideas of gold and everything that has gone throughout history, there is very little doubt in my mind that if we have a complete collapse of the system, that gold and silver will be the only form of currency, right? At the end of like any kind of apocalyptic scenario. And then you give it another layer to this, right? If you were to take all the gold and you took all the Bitcoin and you got rid of Bitcoin, nothing would happen to gold. If you took all the gold and you got rid of it, Bitcoin would disappear too. And so that's something else to think about. Gold wins. Now, ultimately, no matter how you look at it, what you think about it, and how you feel about like it being a viable currency or turning into a world reserve currency and all that other stuff, what we've already learned from Gresham's law is going to say that there is no way that any kind of fixed currency like gold or Bitcoin could ever be a viable world reserve currency, because the most industrious nations would then hoard all that gold or Bitcoin, and all the nations who are then suffering with a lack of gold and Bitcoin would then fail in their transactions and eventually suffer in misery and poverty because they don't have any money until the nation that had it all had to redistribute it back out, which they would end up holding on to it and issue out paper currency. All right, that was a lot of fun. We got 8 minutes into that. I hope that was a good video for people. I'm going to try and make them short and quick like that, so, at least give it a few minutes, because I know a lot of people don't want to sit around for like 2 hours as we hang out and talk about like, whatever subject we got. So blasting out like 8 to 10 minutes of content, I think is pretty good, and then kind of go into the conversation we have here. Right on, yo, Ghostface. Hey, got all nighter, hit the like button. Hey, guys, all right. Bitcoin is the way of the future. Hey, Johnny. All right, I'd like to know if gold ETFs manipulate the gold spot price, wouldn't the same be with Bitcoin ETFs and its price? I mean, yeah, I guess it would, at the end of the, ultimately the price on the comparatively to the dollar would be manipulated, because I think the dollar, anything priced to the dollar can be manipulated no matter what it is. So yes, yeah, right. But it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of how much you're willing to transact in Bitcoin with another person in a peer-to-peer form. Like, if the person, obviously, most people are going to immediately consider it a dollar. Like, if I'm going to go to work for somebody and I'm going to like, hey man, what do you need done? Okay, you want that window installed? Cool, I can do that. It's going to be, whatever absorbent amount, $1,000 to do it, right? And the guy says, hey, you want to pay in Bitcoin? Yeah, right. That's a dollar transaction taking place right there. You see that? Because I just said $1,000. He says, cool, you want to take Bitcoin. See, we're not doing the transaction in Bitcoin. We're doing the deal in dollars, but then settling in Bitcoin. That's not the same thing. What I should have gone to him and it was just like, okay, man, yeah, you want that window installed? Cool. It's going to be like, a tenth of a Bitcoin, or something like that, and that's the way the transaction does. And you never include the dollar into the transaction. That would then make it like, a real currency and peer to peer. But, that's not the way it's going to be. Most people are going to do the $1,000 transaction first, within that's a deal in dollars, right? So it's because everybody accepts dollars and nobody wants to accept Bitcoin except for other people who are into Bitcoin. And now I do look at Bitcoin as a reasonable place to at least continue for me to. And in fact, I purchased $50 before I started this video because I wanted to, like, I was thinking, man, it's been a while, I haven't done it, so I just went ahead and dropped $50 into Bitcoin just before I started the video. To me, like, it's not necessarily the place that is going to be like the viable thing that I'm hoping and wishing and praying to take place. Like, my expectations of Bitcoin is so low that, like, I really don't even care. It's like I literally have no care about what happens to it, and it'll go up or down or whatever. And it goes for $50,000, goes down to 16,000, whatever. It's just what it does. And by having that sort of like low expectation over it, you can really start looking at it in a lot clearer fashion, and to understand that, whether or not it's manipulated really doesn't make any difference when you really look at it as a peer-to-peer currency in which that it was meant to be. If you start comparing it to the dollar, then yeah, it's always going to be, hey, I'll do the window for 1,000. Let's settle in Bitcoin, right? Which is different. Cool. Got a $2 super chat. Let's go check that out real quick, guys. Bang. All right. Nate B, thank you so much for the $2. Buying $1,000 of silver over 1,000 BTC is hard right now. I would buy silver. Don't buy BTC. Okay, this is not a financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Please don't take this for financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, great. Okay, don't buy Bitcoin if you have no silver, right? Because silver right now is like 20 something dollars an ounce. It's super underloved, unappreciated, and unvalued. If you don't have any silver, I would buy $1,000 worth of silver myself, right? That's what I would do before I would buy Bitcoin. But if I had $1,000 worth of silver, I might start buying a few dollars worth of Bitcoin, but I would do very small increments at $50,000, right? I mean, at Bitcoin that's high is like incredibly high. It's volatile as all get out. Silver is very stable, right? It doesn't hardly ever move. And at $22 an ounce, it is like under 50% of its all-time high. It's, comparatively to gold, it is, I don't even know what the ratio, 100 to 1 or something close, not quite to 100, 90 something to 1 when it comes out of the ground at 10 to 1. Like, the gold to silver ratio is just so far out of proportion. So to me, like, if there was like either $1,000 of silver or $1,000 in Bitcoin, it would be silver 100% of the way. Like, no doubt in my mind, All right, let's cruise back up there. Thank you for the super chat too, man. That was really cool. Was it Nate B? Yeah, Nate B. Thank you, man. All right. Let's see here. Bitcoin would not disappear if gold didn't exist. There are other conductors. If gold disappeared today, all computers would cease to exist. Right? All computing, I should say, right? Because there's no way you would have to go and replace it all. Right? That's where I'm trying to get at. Is just like, if the system was built already without gold, then I would understand. But like I said, if you were to take gold and make it disappear today, it would cease to exist. Like, Bitcoin would not work. Right? So if you were to take Bitcoin and make it go away today, like right now, just disappear, like, all my Bitcoin's gone, nothing would happen. Right? Like, literally nothing would happen except for a bunch of pissed off people. Like, that's it. So, no, it's a huge thing. That's what I mean by the difference of it, right? Banks don't think so. Okay. Very, very valuable Bitcoin. No way, gold or Bitcoin 100 times. Okay. Bloomberg released a chart showing the massive movement of gold ETFs bleeding into Bitcoin. Interesting. Again, like, All the market stuff, like literally, like from a distance, man, I just like, cause here's the thing. I got real excited about like all the ETFs and all the paper and all the other stuff when I didn't join. I just kind of jumped on board with the idea of Max Kaiser going to crash JP Morgan, buy silver. You guys remember this campaign? Does anybody? It was like 2011, right? And here it is. Max Kaiser's pushing this Giabo, right? Global insurrection against banker occupation. It was this big, huge movement, and everybody was going to crash J.P. Morgan by buying silver. We're going to run silver up to $500 an ounce, and they were going to get crushed under their silver short position. Sound familiar? Doesn't that sound kind of familiar to what happened here on Reddit not too long ago? Just pumping dump schemes, right? Anyway, I don't get into it. The markets are going to do what they do. There's going to be a hell of a lot of manipulation in it. The numbers themselves, I really don't trust like at all. And to me, it's more about like the direction they're going and by how much. But literally, like I just don't trust any single number out there because of FASB 56. I mean, they already told us that they're going to lie about the numbers for national security reasons, and then it's like, well, great, that sucks for me, doesn't it? All right, moving on here. People have been saying that about Bitcoin for 10 plus years. People have been saying what? Hey, Mary Man, I'm so proud of you. Hey, thanks, Crystal. That's my sister. Right on, sis. Good to see you here. All right, those that hate on Bitcoin are those that don't fully understand it. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Wandering Lobo. I do agree with you. Most people who jump on it and say I wouldn't touch that stuff, I ask them. I was like, well, then explain to me why. And they always have the same thing. It's because you can't touch it or something like that. Like it's in a computer. And I'm thinking, and you have trust for dollars. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you don't trust Bitcoin because you can't physically touch it, but then you trust dollars that like literally deteriorate over time. And I'm thinking, here you have one that's literally a deflationary aspect built right into the currency, and then the other one is a known inflationary monster, and yet you have trust for dollars and not for Bitcoin because you can't touch it. You can't. It's like it's in a computer, and I'm like, this is really your reasoning. Okay, I understand. I get it. I mean, if I could, I mean, I got that Bitcoin, that Bitcoin coin, that token that Patrick gave me. I mean, I got that thing. It can, like, you got physical, but, that's their only reasonings behind it. It's weird. Hey, cool. I got another super chat. Let's go check it out. Hey, Ghost Force, thank you so much for the $2. Bitcoin over gold is like saying EVs over gas cars. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like I'm more into gas vehicles than I am electric ones. But what's kind of funny about that is that I believe that the gas vehicles will eventually find their way out and then we're only going to have electric vehicles. So what does that say about the Bitcoin? Huh. Isn't that weird, right? All right, people have been saying that. Oh, we already read that. Okay, Mary Man. All right. I've been accepting big BTC for 4 years. Nobody has taken me up in it. I've I've gotten paid in Bitcoin. I mean, I can't find people but I mean, there's people, and I paid for Bitcoin. I paid for computer services with it. Yeah. How can I hate something that isn't even real? I can buy a house for less Bitcoin than I can 10 years ago, yet more dollars. Gram of gold, barrel of oil. The ledger is real. BTC is just a name. That's right. Fact, it's only a medium. Have you watched Mike Maloney's hash graph video? It is 9 million times more energy efficient for a higher security level than Bitcoin, plus you can do atomic swaps. Are you talking something different than Bitcoin? Yeah, that's probably cool. There's probably a lot of ideas out there that are probably better than Bitcoin and do a lot more better at energy efficiency and all the other stuff that goes along with it, but it's not Bitcoin. It's not Bitcoin, right? I mean, Bitcoin is being used. Like this other one, you have to convince other people to use it. The network effect of Bitcoin is like unstoppable. It's like You know, you're not going to stop it. It's like it's now the cat's out of the bag, right? There might be a million better ideas and a million better like cryptocurrencies or just forms of actually even doing the like I don't even know like however blockchain works. Like I don't even understand how blockchain works, right? But if there's a better form of that, you know, like it's not even blockchain, it's something completely different. It doesn't matter. It's still not Bitcoin, right? It's still like that's what's blown me away here is that you like all these different altcoins, all the different programs, all the different possibilities, all the different like projects and stuff that's being built right now. Ultimately, what I see out of it, once you have the secondary layer systems that are built with it, Bitcoin is the digital gold. Everything else is second to it, right? And there's really nothing out there that the other coins are doing that Bitcoin can't do or can do with the secondary layer system to it or something of that nature. So like yeah, there's great ideas. There's probably ones that are like, you know, way better, but they're not going to get the network effect that Bitcoin has. It's like out there. It's happening, you know? And that's what I finally had to come to understand. It was just like cuz I didn't really want to trust in Bitcoin either. Like I don't trust it, but I didn't want to do it enough that I would actually put money towards it. Right. But I've been checking this stuff out since it was $18. I watched Mount Gox fail. I had cryptocurrency stolen from me through a crooked exchange called Cripsy from some dude named Big Vern, right? Like I've experienced a lot of stuff for somebody who doesn't really even know anything about cryptocurrencies or computers or anything like that. I've been watching this for a really long time, right? And ultimately what it comes down to it is I would much rather have it than not have it, you know? And so $50 dollar cost averaging in is not a big deal. Uh, and I think I did watch that video, that Mike Maloney one. And I like Mike Maloney. He's a cool dude. In fact, old Nider and I hung out with him at a cocktail party after the Rebel Capitalist, and the dude was really like he was into his story, man. We like hung guys. We walked out of the restaurant. And he was telling it to us. All right. No, the Bitcoin ETF cannot be manipulated like the paper gold market. Bitcoin is completely transparent. You can verify exactly how much Bitcoin is being held in their wallets. You can't verify gold. I think that is absolutely true. Best price, I think that's a great way of looking at it. And it's a much different aspect when it comes to gold because, yes, you cannot verify how much gold there is, but you certainly can verify where all that Bitcoin is. That's a great comment. Thank you, Best Price. I hadn't really actually thought of it in that fashion. All right. Use Bitcoin to get more assets to hold in your hands. Anything that can fluctuate 20% in 24 hours several times in a single year is just not viable. Just pure gambling. Bitcoin is the way, future and only way. One of the real valves of Bitcoin is that values maybe is that it's permissionless. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I like about it too is that I mean, can you name anything else that you could do this with? If you can memorize the what is it, 64 digits? If you can memorize the 64 digit private key to a Bitcoin wallet, you can literally store all of it in your head. Go to jail, cross borders, right? Have everything stolen from you. Doesn't matter, right? All of it is locked up inside of your head. If you can remember those 64 digits, there is nothing else on this planet that you can do that with. That is pretty damn cool. Put it up in there and run for the borders, bail out, get out wherever you need to go. You don't need to take it with you. You don't need to pack and weigh it and protect it and do all that other stuff. You just need to get yourself there. Once you're in that other place, generate that wallet, drop your Bitcoin numbers up in there, and bang, you got it all back. Pretty dang cool, right? Like I said, man, Bitcoin is pretty unique. I would rather have it than not have it, you know. Uh, I lost my place here. All right, permissionless. Sal Ruse, you realize they've been saying that for decades, so why isn't it now? There is no future. Future is now. That's right. The future is now. Bitcoin is a many-year plan for wealth, not short-term. Atomic swaps are where you can all or nothing transfer both payment and title at the same time. That is the transfer of value. Silver and gold will not go anywhere. BTC will destroy both just as it has in 2009. I'm okay. I'm gonna disagree with best price on that one. Bitcoin will destroy both. And I mean, are you talking about the price? I mean, I guess the price to the dollar. I mean, that as far as I'm concerned, this price to silver is already destroyed. And if it's gonna destroy it some more, I'd be like happy about that. That would mean like I get to buy more of it. I mean, any like I am not upset by the idea that precious metals are down in price or even go down in price because I want to load up on as much of it as I can. And if it's expensive, I can't do that. But if it's cheap, I can. In that way, if there is ever any kind of issues that happen within my life, I have an insurance policy that I can then pull from. If not, it's a great thing I get to hand over to my kids, and that's really what I'm intending on doing with it. So, like, cheap silver from now on, like forever, is great. Like, I think that's a great idea. And until I'm like 80 years old, like if it happens to go up to $1,000 an ounce or more or whatever, then cool, right on, right? But until then, I'd much rather have cheap silver that I can just load up on. And so, yeah, if it's going to destroy it, I'm okay, cool, man. Maybe I will agree with you again. Right? I'm back on best price side. Silver, gold, platinum, and copper are always solid staples of electronics and they don't devalue much. Agreed, pothead. All right. Polygon says buy BTC now, hold for a year or so. We are just entering the bull market. Silver will not outperform BTC. I agree. I don't think silver is going to outperform BTC at all, but I still think silver is a better thing to buy. But anyway, as far as the dollar cost averaging, I talked to Lynn Alden and asked her, I was just like, hey, listen, how do I know how to time Bitcoin? How do I know when I'm going to get into the best prices and stuff like that? She said, there is no way of doing that. You have to dollar cost average over the course of 4 years. If you dollar cost average for 4 years, she said that there was no model that they have in which that you would be under. You would be over if you did it for 4 years. So dollar cost averaging for 4 years into Bitcoin is by far the best way to go about it if you're going to be buying Bitcoin. And that's by Lynn Alden's recommendation, not by mine, right? Because I don't know anything about anything as comparatively to Lynn Alden does, right? So, all right, I got weed for you instead, pothead. Agreed, best Bry. Okay, what do you think about the record high stock market? Um, I don't know. I mean, yay, it's awesome. I mean, I don't think that's going to last too much longer. I think honestly, I don't understand how come more people aren't really talking about like the coming liquidity problem. I mean, I guess a lot of people do when they're looking at it like with commercial real estate or something like that. They see kind of like a lot of stuff happening there, but really like it's not showing itself in like in my opinion, it's not showing itself in like the stock market or even in like even in my local real estate or in a lot of the things that I would anticipate like, you would see like stock market coming down and then issues with like banks not loaning out to people and financial crisis kind of stuff, that you would typically hear within it when you would anticipate liquidity drying up, but it's just not being really reported in that fashion. But I don't know, give it some time. Um, who knows? I mean, the stock market doesn't really seem to go down anymore. Only for a brief moment, like with the pandemic. And it's hard because I really don't even pay attention to stock market really that much. I just kind of more look at like monetary policies. I look at like a lot of stuff that's coming from the Federal Reserve talking about like, especially lately, talking about like how they were making sure that these banks had enough buffer, like but like had a buffer zone basically for stress purposes. So their balance sheets had to have assets on them that were a lot more liquid than what they had typically been, which is to me that's like another sign of the liquidity crisis that's coming. Like if the Federal Reserve says, "Hey, take a look at your balance sheet. If we go into a stressful situation where these particular events are beginning to happen, how easily are you going to be able to sell the assets that you have on your balance sheet? And if they're screwed up and you can't sell those because of the stressful situation, then you have to rebalance these things to make sure that they are in a position in which that you can liquidate quickly, even if you're in a stressful situation. And that's it, like it's you don't see that just straight up talked out like that. Like you find it pieced together. And that's what's really strange about like studying the Federal Reserve and learning as much as I have by it. It's literally almost a conversation that they have that you pick up over time. And it's just like almost like kind of like being in the room and getting the finally getting like the understanding what their plan is. Like, you get the feeling of who they are and it. Like, once you know somebody, you grew up with a guy, you're going to know. It's just like, man, if we go fishing, he's going to be like this when we're fishing, right? I mean, you just know how he's going to be. And made that good, bad, or whatever, it's just like you just know it. Well, that's kind of the same thing that you eventually get for the Federal Reserve. What most people end up thinking is that the Federal Reserve is being reactionary and then only working off of the government or doing some other things. And I'm thinking, nah, if you sit in the room long enough and listen to the conversation, you can kind of get the feeling of what it is that they're up to and what it is they're talking about. And they don't agree. That's another thing that I found is like these Fed governors and presidents and stuff like that. A lot of them have like they all don't have a single mindset to them. They are very much of their own opinions when it comes to the way they feel about the way that the market conditions should be. Like I have a feeling that like somebody like Ralph Bostic and John Williams are not like they don't like they're probably like a very like negative energy kind of people, like opposite energy kind of people is what I'm guessing. I don't know. Anyhow. Moving on. All right. What is this? They got grifted into thinking it will be the only thing to pay with. I have a ton of silver back from before the '08 crash. So disappointed. Only buy it as a commodity for electronics, not as a currency. BTC much better in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I guess we all have our opinion about it. I can buy weed from. I could buy a weed farm for the amount of Bitcoin now rather than 10 years ago, just a bag. Well, I'm sorry, the pothead, but I do not think that weed is an actual viable business to be in. Now, the processing of weed may be like there's something like there's a service that can be done inside of it, but ultimately the plant itself is a worthless commodity that doesn't really have any kind of value to it. You think about it, it's just like, and I've said this before, and this is exactly the way I feel about it. And believe me, I grew up in Oregon. I mean, we've never had it. Weed was never a crime, or where I lived ever. It was never a crime. It was a misdemeanor if you had a possession of an ounce or less. If you got caught with weed, you paid a ticket, you went on your way. Nobody went to jail, nobody lost their livelihoods, nobody did any of that crap, right? Now, if you're selling it or manufacturing it, that's a different story. But the simple possession of weed was never a crime in Oregon. So we love our weed up here, right? And we really understand what it is to be in a social environment of having weed involved, right? I mean, it's just like everybody here is just uses it. So when it comes to like weed, it's no big deal. It's like a sea of green. It pours out on the ground. Now, we also have a tendency to drink a lot of beer up here in the Pacific Northwest. And like we're kind of famous for a lot of the breweries and stuff that we had, especially before it got really popular across the country. The Pacific Northwest was famous for its beer, right? So now something that I found is that there's people who can really, really, really brew good beer. Like they really know how to do it and they brew the best. Like every single time their beer is awesome. Now, you could find somebody who can describe to a T exactly how they brew their beer. Like, and you could follow those instructions to a T without deviating one little bit just perfectly. And I guarantee you, your beer will not taste the same as that beer, right? That brewer is unique to his beer. It's his beer, and it's in no matter how you try to match it, you will never make the beer exactly the same as that other dude, right? It's a craft, it's a skill, and it's a technique that goes into it that is unique to each individual person. Now, I've watched people throw some weed behind the woodshed and forget about it, and it was killer when it grew, right? Forgot to even water it and even knew it was there, right? It just grew on its own and it was awesome. It doesn't take any special talents or skills to grow weed. Now, it does to grow some decent weed and to grow bulk. like a lot of weed that's really good. Sure, it takes a talent and skill, and I'm not trying to knock those who know how to grow weed because met some people who really know how to grow some decent weed, right? But that's not the point of it. The point is that it doesn't take anything. It's just a damn weed, and it grows in the ground. And if you can grow an insane amount of it, right, then you really have to grow only the finest weed out there in order to make any kind of money off of it because everybody has piles of it just laying around, right? So it doesn't have any real value to it. Once you process it, make it into, I don't know, maybe an edible or break it down to hash or something like that, then you have something that you can sell because you're actually processing, you're actually giving a service within to it. But the growing of weed and the possession of the flower is like literally like it's nothing. It has almost like zero value. I think I see signs at the dispensary every once in a while like $20 ounces. Like they're like, get the shit out of here, you know? uh, if you have a choice, I choose all three: BTC, physical, gold, and silver. Yeah, me too. I mean, absolutely. In fact, I talked to my silver guy yesterday. I was just like, "Hey, man, you gonna be in the shop?" And he was like, "Actually, no, I'm whatever." But he wasn't in that day, and so I was just like, I was kind of bummed about it because I was looking to pick up a little bit of BTC and a little bit of silver, and I was able to get the BTC today. So, but yeah, I'm the same, man. I mean, I can go for all of it: gold, silver, BTC. Uh, Silver is not an investment; it's an asset diversification. Yeah, yeah. I never called it an investment either. In fact, I don't think Bitcoin or gold are investments. Investments are something that pays you, like rental properties, dividend paying stocks, a business that, works, or something you invest into a business, something that pays, right? Nothing, if it just sits there and it doesn't do anything and you're thinking, man, what does this do? I don't know. You just put it back in the drawer, then that's like, it's literally, that's what they call dumb assets, right? Because it doesn't have any kind of return on it. It's not dumb because you purchased it, and that's what a lot of people think when I say it, but it literally, that's what it is. It's a dumb asset. It doesn't do anything, right? And even that, on top of it, it still goes into more investment terms called selling to the greater fool, which means that it doesn't do anything except for either go up or down in value. It doesn't really have any reason to do that other than the perception of what somebody else is willing to pay. So even on that in turn also doesn't make it an investment, right? It's a speculation on that time. So, all right. But then Max found something better. Why wouldn't crime end if cash went away? That is why cash will not be eliminated. Fanny W is proof of this. I don't know. I mean, like, I think about all the crimes that take place that don't involve cash, that don't involve like even money, like the taking of stuff, right? I mean, it's just because there's no money in there, would it really stop people from taking your stuff, right? I mean, or committing other horrible crimes to you. Uh, I'm just glad I don't idol worship a piece of digital slurrency. All right. Oh, Glows Force. First super on live stream. Thank you so much. I watched someone say nickel's going be huge soon with new battery technology. What do you think about that? Oh yeah. That's kind of funny. Like the actual nickels, like the 5 cent US coin. Yeah, I'm a huge believer in nickels. In fact, if you took all your money, everything you had, and you put it into nickels, like you just decided, like, I'm just losing my mind, I don't know what to do, and you put it all into nickels and pre 81 pennies, right? You could do it with pre 81 pennies too. But if you put it all into nickels, like ordered, like, I don't know, on a pallet of nickels from the mint or something, and held on to it. Now, this is probably one of the coolest things that you could ever do to secure your wealth and your way of life, right? Because if you think about it, the nickel value is like is break even right about now. So if all hell breaks loose and the dollar just completely loses it, then the nickel value goes way up, right? So like right now, there's really no chance of the nickel losing value to its weight value, right? So literally the copper, the metal value of it is about 5 cents. Right? So now, again, if it all breaks loose and the price of the metal doubles, well, then you just doubled your money just simply by having nickels, right? Because now they're worth 10 cents a piece. Now I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh man, you can't melt it down, all this other stuff and laws," right? Okay, I got that part, but it doesn't matter. The metal value right there is still double, right? Right now it's double in pennies, right? Think about that. If you had a pre-81 penny, you got more than 2 cents worth of copper. Now, I'm just absolutely nuts. And everything is fine and nothing is going to happen, and it was all a big mistake. You just spend it at face value, you lose nothing, right? So not only is it a big block of metal that will completely protect your value, right? Because it is what it says it is. It's a face value coin, right? And then if I'm completely, batshit crazy, you just take the coins and sell them and just, spend it into the economy. No loss, right? So nickels is like probably one of the most like apparent security things that you could ever do, because there's absolutely no loss to it whatsoever, no matter how you look at it. You know, if the metal loses value, then it's got the face value. If it goes up, then then you got more weight than it's worth, or than the face value is worth. All right. Trade with me in coins and braided fishing line. We're saying that it's the future, Simon. Sorry, watch. Do you like the precious metal mining stocks? I do. I do own some precious metal miners and stuff. So I don't really pay close attention to the miners and which ones are going to be like the best ones to invest in and stuff. But I built a little portfolio of miners a while back, and to be honest, I haven't even really looked at it that much to see, to see where it's gone or what it's worth. It's kind of one of those things I just kind of forgot about. Not forgot about, but just like, try not to look at and, and focus in on. So, but I mean, really, that's the only way you can invest in precious metals. I mean, if you think about it, because when you're buying a miner, then you're buying the production of the mine itself, which is then investing in the business. So whether they were mining gold or, growing corn or whatever, you're still in the process of that business itself, whether it's extracting or doing whatever. And if they're good at it, well, then, you can make a lot of money, especially if that company is really in it and doing well when the price of gold goes up, because then everybody wants to pour into that company, and then that's where the real numbers move. I don't trust BTC or dollars. Well, that sucks, man. Yeah, I don't either. But I don't really put a lot of trust into things, so I don't have to worry about that. You know, I don't trust it either, but I don't feel like I have to, It's just like, like if the dollar failed tomorrow, it would be pretty chaotic, considering what would happen in the economy. But I would not, I would not be flipping out. Like I wouldn't be worried. Like I would be worried, but about the economy, but I wouldn't be worried about like, oh no, how do I get my money back? Like I wouldn't. It would be like if it's gone, it's gone, and then be like, well, it's adios. It was just like I got other means, and so I think that's probably pretty important to understand. Like I am very much into the dollar. Like I have my money in the bank. I am looking for opportunities. I'm not like really that scared about it going anywhere. And yet I load up on insurance policies that say if the dollar crashed, I would do quite well. Right. See, this is like to me, like I don't mind playing in the dollar when I have an insurance policy out there. So I'm like totally into it. Like, yeah, let's throw some money at stocks. Let's find out what's going on out there. Let's play in that game if you have an insurance policy that can back it up, and so and it doesn't even have to be that much, because if the dollar fails, whatever little insurance policy you have is going to explode. All right, 62 people. Let's get it up to 100 likes. Let's get it up to 100 likes in the next, 15 minutes here. Thanks, Sister Crystal. All right. Let me see. Did I get all those? Future. Okay. It's so absurd. Thanks, Sister Crystal. Okay, you don't use Bitcoin, you store it. Right? That's the beauty of BTC. No need to trust. No trust. The pothead, I don't care. I think that's a poor analogy. Which one? I'm looking forward to hydrogen cars. They have a real promise. There's many people in here besides just you. I have owned BTC since 2014. I don't see it as a currency, but like ownish ownish shares in the blockchain infrastructure. I don't know. Okay, Nate B. I have COVID right now in New York City. It ain't going away. Dang, yeah. And I just had a friend who on Facebook, I noticed she was showing her test. She was like, damn, it's been 3 years and I got it again. So, all right, BTC, let's see, who's this? Warner? BTC has fluctuated over 20% in the 24 hours many times. Oh, we already read that, didn't we? Nothing you should consider currency has that potential. That's just put into the hot potato territory. I don't think you get to choose what it is that you want for a currency, man. I mean, if you're in prison, and they're trading cigarettes, I don't think you have any, like, we should be using dollars here, guys. I mean, it was like cigarettes is it. This is what you get. And so you trade cigarettes or you don't trade, right? And so it's not a matter of like, what it should be or shouldn't be. It's just a matter of what is, right? I mean, I don't think, and I don't know how many people have come to me and like asked me like, well, what should we do or what's the answer to and stuff like that. And I'm like, why would you? What are you looking for the expectations of an outcome like that? Like, I mean, why don't you just understand it for what it is and then just live your life? I mean, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good and it's going to be awesome all at the same time. But there's never a chance in hell that it's going to be that way for everybody all at once, that it's going to be awesome or bad, right? It doesn't go that way. Some people are going to be living it they're going to be rolling in it while other people are suffering and wondering why. And so it's just better to just understand the system for what it is and then than it is to try and figure out what it is that's going to be the best way about it. Again, like you know, we could want BTC, we could want gold, we could want something other than the dollar to exist for the trading units that we use. It's not it. It's the dollar. The dollar is what is being used. So, like, I mean, as unfortunate as it is, it's better to just accept it and say, okay, I'm moving on. I'm going to deal with this and I'm actually going to prosper and have nice things and visit nice places. All right. I order from overseas pharmacies with BTC. What do you think about the record high stock market? I already read that. Lightning Network to pay BTC. Lithium batteries suck and the cold. Pothead volatility is a good thing. It will tame over time. Yeah. Merriman, BTC did not move 20% in the last day. The pothead, I can't see gold over the internet. I can't send gold over the internet. Actually, there is a ways that you can do it. I mean, it takes a third party trust, but you can do it because there is third parties that will store your gold and then give you a digital form of it that you can then trade with your friends or trade with whoever you want. So there is a way that you could, and then physically take the gold back. At some point, I guess. It's like if you trust that third party would actually do that. So there is ways out there that you can send it over the internet, but yeah, I agree. Then you still don't actually physically have the gold on the other end. You still have to go through another process of actually getting the gold. So yeah, I kind of agree on that sense. All right, I need to fish. So I have an answer for that to avoid unnecessary chat room corniness. Huh. Right, 20%, 24 hours. What? 24 hours. What was that? Okay. Amen. All right, Sean. GNS, physical GNS, gold and silver insurance and store of value. The blockchain will grow into a myriad of services due to the trustless nature. BTC is being adopted now. 11 new ETFs on the stock market. BTC's cap. Moon. Cap is moon. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like ever since I've ever heard of Bitcoin, I mean, I've heard how it was going to fail and worthless, and nobody's ever going to use it. And then, I mean, I don't know how many famous economists there are on TV who have said that, or even just out there on the internet, and how many people are talking about it's going to $1 million and all this other stuff. It's just like, wow, man, Bitcoin's really out there. Like a lot of people are noticing it. A lot of people know what it is. It seems like everybody out there knows what the hell Bitcoin is. That's a network effect, right? It's just like, there's no stopping it. It's out of the bag. right? It's growing. Uh, I disagree. I don't think Bitcoin will stay around like other blockchains. Why? I mean, I don't understand. It's like okay. I mean, what do you think about the stock market gains? We keep asking that. I mean, it's good. It's awesome. I mean, I don't know why. Like, I mean, take advantage of it. Sell out. I don't know, man. Monero is what Bitcoin promised to be. Theta is Godzilla. Yeah, but I bet you if you go around and you take a group of 100 people who no clue about anything just randomly off the street, and you ask them what Bitcoin is, and I bet you most of them are going to know. Like, at least have heard of it, if nothing else. You ask them what Monero is, and they're going to ask, is that a restaurant? What is that? Where's that at? And so, all right. When the price of gold goes up, the mine more gold. Bitcoin supply is hard capped and supply keeps shrinking. Yeah, which is ultimately the reason why it will never be used as a world reserve currency, because the most industrialized nation will take it all for themselves, leaving everybody else in the world deprived of enough money to actually do transactions. So therefore, they wouldn't even use Bitcoin at that point. They would use seashells or cigarettes or gold and silver, which is ultimately what it would be if they cannot find any other kind of currency to use. It's going to be gold and silver because that's the one that's time tested and trusted for 5,000 years. That's what it's going to be. And again, I have very little doubt in my mind that would be the case if all currencies were to collapse today. Say the dollar was to fail, all currencies would fail right behind it because everything is essentially tied to the dollar, and gold would rule. It would step in. It would be Thayer's law, and Thayer's law says that gold and silver would essentially take the place of a crappy currency that nobody would accept. But so long as people are accepting dollars, Bitcoin and gold are going to get hoarded away every time. I mean, just ask yourself the question, if you had the opportunity to spend gold or cash. I mean, you have your choice. You got a gold coin in your hand, you got cash in your hand, and you're looking to spend it, and you're going to sit there and go like, well, I guess I'll keep my cash, my dollar bills, and throw the gold coin out there to the merchant. Hell no, of course not. You're going to keep that gold coin, and you're going to hand the cash. I don't even care if you're into BTC and hate gold. You're still going to do that decision because everybody knows that cash is not the thing you want to keep, right? Like, I mean, unless you have a purpose for it, like, which would be to make that purchase, you know? BTC is our opportunity to separate money and states. Yep, Mary is the best way to store your keys. Memory? Is Bitcoin a threat to central bank digital currencies or the government in any way? Jimmy Hat, I don't think so. And I don't think so just for the simple reasons of what I've said. It's just like there's no real reason that Bitcoin or gold or anything else could ever disrupt the whole system so long as the dollars are in operation. Now, as far as central bank digital currencies go, if you had a central bank digital currency, let's think about it like this: if the Federal Reserve had a Fed Reserve coin, the Fed coin, right? And it was out there being used. Most I would assume right now that very few people would know any difference if they were using dollars or central bank digital currency, if they were using FedNow coin or Fed coin or whatever, right? So if there was very little notice of the difference within it, then it wouldn't matter if it was a dollar or a central bank digital currency that was being used. And it wouldn't even really matter if it was a central bank digital currency if it was just a digital currency. So now, if you had a stable coin that was being used as a digital currency, it would be the same as a central bank digital currency in the eyes of the person who was using it, since they don't know what the hell they're using anyway, right? So if there was a stable coin out there that was backed by the dollar being used like a digital currency, then any monetary policy that was being conducted from the dollar would then transfer into the stable coin. The Federal Reserve really wouldn't have to do anything except for conduct themselves like they normally do. They wouldn't have to have anything out there to consider being a central bank digital currency, considering the stablecoin is already performing the task of the digital currency. Now all they have to do is just conduct their monetary policy without any change to what they normally do. And it would all transfer right through the dollar into that stable coin. My only question is that once everybody's using the stable coin, who's to say it's going to be backed by the dollar, right? So now that's really where I see the Federal Reserve leaning towards, is that literally going into stable coins. They hardly talk about central bank digital currencies of themselves, of what it is that they are building. They do talk about it. They do have it going. They have their own central bank digital currencies in progress. But all they're speaking, everything they talk about is regulating the hell out of stable coins, which leads me to believe they are more interested in stable coins than they are in their own central bank digital currency. And I know it's for that reason, because they have talked about it, how their monetary policy transfers through into anything that is tied to the dollar. They've talked about it with foreign nations who tie their currency to the dollar, and any monetary policy that happens within the United States transfers into those foreign currencies. And they talked about that with stable coins as well. So to me, I'm like, okay, I mean, I've heard enough chatter about it that it says, if you guys regulate the hell out of these stable coins, that's the direction you're going towards, right? I mean, as far as like setting up wallets that everybody uses and stuff like that, that could be happening. I don't see it. I don't know anybody who has one. Haven't heard of it. Definitely heard of stable coins. Definitely heard of people using it. You know? So it's just like, I mean, just look out there and see what's going on. I mean, you can imagine all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, you can imagine it all. Like, there is, you want to this and this and that and that, and you add it all up together and it equals this. And like, believe me, it's the New World Order at the end of the day. But right now, when but when you look out there, you just kind of think about things for just a little bit, like what is taking place, not like what could be, what is, but what is, like. And so, you look, it's just like, well, is the Federal Reserve talking about central bank digital currency, or is the Federal Reserve talking about regulating the hell out of these stable coins? Well, from what I read, which is a lot of the Fed stuff, it seems to be more focused on stable coins. All right. No one has ever gotten past the fact that the banks have to accept your BTC or translate to something you can spend. Yeah, I mean, and that's, at this point it is, right? Because until a store has priced something, like if you go into the store, like you go into my hardware store and you go over there and you buy some plumbing fittings and it has priced in Satoshis or Bitcoin or something like that, then that's the Bitcoin that's when Bitcoin is being used as a currency. But if it's priced in dollars and then you're transferring like Bitcoin to dollars at the moment of sale, that is like exactly like you're describing. That is not a Bitcoin transaction. That is just, basically using Bitcoin and then like selling your savings in Bitcoin in order to make the purchase and me in cash or with dollars. It's also just a number on the screen. BTC don't promise to be private. Didn't promise to be private. I don't think like Bitcoin promised it, because Bitcoin can't say anything to you. But the people who were playing around with Bitcoin in the early days was saying that. Like, I remember there was like completely anonymous currency, and I'm like, okay, let's check that out. I'm cool. Like, I like anonymous. Yeah. All right, Monero is too bulky. You need to have some small blockchains so more and more people can run full nodes. The world needs a public ledger. No, the CBDC is way to tax digital currencies. Bitcoin is Nostra only. XRP will be used. Oh, here we go with the XRP. I love this one. All right, XRP will be used once they turn on the central bank digital currencies. The Ripple CEO speaks of the World Economic Forum every year. At the World Economic Forum every year, and other crypto CEOs are not. ISO 2022 is coming, and Ripple is compliant. All right, well, let's see it happen. It's so funny. Like, I've heard so many people talk about XRP and Ripple and all that other stuff. The only people that I have never heard anything mention anything within anything that they have ever said in their documents, other than the stuff that people have said to the Federal Reserve, is the Federal Reserve itself. They have never once ever mentioned Ripple or XRP, not once. Right now, people have gone and said, "Oh no, look at this," and they show me all these documents coming from the Federal Reserve with the word Ripple within it. But if they look at it, it is actually letters and things that have been sent to the Federal Reserve as recommendations to use Ripple, and those guys have acknowledged those particular comments and people who have said those things. Never once in any of their topics or any of their statements or anything in their monetary policy have they ever included the idea of using Ripple, XRP, or any of that stuff. They have stable coins, right? And that's why I don't like, I mean, I hear it. I mean, I hear a lot of it about XRP, but from the other side, the monetary policy side that I study, not the, the noise out there, like, everybody else, but like, just trying to understand the monetary policy for myself, since I'm not the one in charge of it, but there are people who are. Go and read what they're talking about and listen to what they talk about. They talk about stable coins. They don't talk about XRP. They don't talk about Ripple. And I could be 100% wrong, right? But I've been pretty damn right on a lot of stuff following the things that I followed. I'm just saying, like, I mean, if I was to all of a sudden just stop and drop and watch XRP and say, oh man, this is the new thing, I don't think I would be making a lot of the calls that I have called over the last couple of years, which I think are pretty fairly accurate, Think about all the lost Bitcoin that will never be recovered. Yep, estimates around 15% of supply. Yeah, I do. And I mean, I think that's a huge one. I'm surprised it's only 15%. I thought it would have been more. There are ways to spend BTC natively without conversion to other assets. XRP is centralized. That's why Bitcoin is being talked about. The ship has sailed for the common man. For BTC ownership at 50,000 K per coin, I don't think so, Soaring Eagle. I think if you dollar cost average at $50 a week or a month or something like that for 4 years, I think you'd be quite happy with it. Like, you won't own an entire Bitcoin, but I think you'd be really happy with why you did that, with doing that anyway. That's why they said at 1,000. I stopped trusting paper money after I found out there used to be $2 bills that no longer get used. I have a $2 bill. What do you mean? $2 bills are all over the place. Not a currency. It's a base layer money. Any currency is just a derivative token of real base layer money. I like that. I like how confusing that kind of sounds. Not a currency. It's a base layer money. Any currency is just a derivative token of real base layer money. Like, everything comes down to the base layer of money, which would essentially be like the dollar, right? So I'm in jail. There is no dollars. There's only cigarettes, and that's how we are using money. So that's the base layer now, right? And like, if I happen to get a fucking juice box or something like that, and I can trade it for a couple of cigarettes or something, I mean, it was just like, so the cigarettes, everything is like the juice box is worth 3 cigarettes. And, like, I don't know. Like, it's just like trying to use that kind of thing. Like, to me, I don't look at like coming down to the dollar. I literally look at everything individually, like the dollar, Bitcoin, gold, whatever. And when it comes to like doing a transaction, it's ultimately going to be in the dollar, no matter what you do, no matter how you wish or pray or change it. It's going to be a transaction in your mind. How much is this transaction in dollars? Even though we're trading in silver, right? We're trading $80 worth of silver for this. It's the way it's almost always done, but very rarely will you take the deal and you're thinking, man, let's see, I guess that's worth about an ounce of silver, without comparing into spot price, without knowing what spot price is. Like it's almost impossible. It's just like everything is based around the value of what that dollar is and how much you could sell it for. All right, 1K for an Apple iPhone 15 and no adapter. I'm pissed. All right, then they said that at 10,000. Alex Burnett agreed. It is the banker's coin. I'm not betting against the World Economic Forum and bankers. Look at the corporate partners at the World Economic Forum. I don't like them, but I'm not betting against them. Polygon, I mean, I think this is, to me, I don't give them meaning. I don't give them meaning in my life, right? Because this is the problem when you give a meaning in your life is that you're actually making decisions with them in mind, right? I mean, your investments, the jobs that you do, the places you go with your money, the expectations you have of the future, it all includes this World Economic Forum, these these scary, fearful people way up in this higher elite class and something, and they're gonna come down, rain down hell and pain and all kinds of nastiness upon you and stuff like that. Like this is the meaning, and if this is the meaning that you're giving it, right? then it's going to have a very difficult outcome for you. That's the reason why I don't even I give politicians very little meaning. I give the New World Order no meaning in my life, right? None. I mean I give very no consideration whatsoever because I do not want them affecting my life, and I don't let them. If you don't you can't stop bombs from falling, right? And unless you're planning on getting out there and being an actual activist, right? Which means getting out on YouTube, putting out 1,600 videos over 7 years, trying to show people exactly how it is that the money operations works, but you're going to do it for the New World Order, then you would be a real activist, right? Like I'm not trying to brag myself up, but I see people out there protesting, and I'm thinking, man, you are not an activist. This is activism, right? Getting out here, having the conversation, sharing the ideas, trying to get out there and showing what it is that's happening out there, because it doesn't seem to be right when you go out there and you read the news and you look at the articles that are portraying something that is completely different from what reality is actually saying. All right? It's just like it's sad to see it. And so when I think about, people are like, man, you should watch these videos on these New World Order coming down on you, and I'm like, what difference is this going to make in my life, right? Like, I mean, I take this information in and I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to process it. Like, I can process the monetary policy. Like, the monetary policy does impact my life. I know exactly what I can do when interest rates change and loans become available and stuff like that. I don't know what to do about the idea of me eating bugs. Like, I'm not going to eat bugs, right? I got chickens. I can farm. I know how to do that kind of thing, right? I'm not going to eat bugs. And I'm not scared. I'm not even like remotely even concerned. Like, I mean, that's the funny part about it is like, I literally don't care, about that, about like, you'll own nothing and be happy. It was like, man, I already don't own anything, right? That's cool. Like, tell me I don't own anything. I know, right? I already know that, you know, and then be happy. Cool, man. I'm looking forward to that part. Like, I want to be happy, so you'll own nothing, be happy. Cool. Yeah. You're already telling me something I already know. This is like, I'm not like my level of concern over the World Economic Forum is nothing, like literally nothing. You can, and the reason is because I used to dive really deep into that stuff, guys. Like I've seen stuff that would just like I tell you, man. I mean, even kind of wanting to think about it right now just makes you want to cry. It's so horrible. Like it's that bad, right? And I don't want to dive into that stuff no more. I don't want to think about it. It's just like it's not healthy, not in any fashion, no matter what it is, right? And constantly being bombarded with it, and by digging in the information and like, like I guess what I like to refer to as Alex Jonesing it up, right? Because that's exactly what it was that I did. It will deteriorate you. You will not succeed. I guarantee you. The moment that you let go of that stuff and you start focusing in on things that are chasing excellence, you will do far better, right? You think you're doing good now, drop that stuff, chase excellence, you'll do even better, right? See my point. The problem is silver has been demonetized. Sorta. I mean, an ounce of silver is $1 if you buy an eagle. That's monetary. I had a gold-backed $2 bill. I don't have any gold-backed ones. I have a silver certificate. No, it's not a silver certificate. It's a U.S. Treasury note that I have. That's a $2 bill. That's it. All right. What sucks for Deja? All right, where do you buy it? 99.99% of cryptocurrencies have hyperinflated while having fixed supplies, some even shrinking supplies. Why does that tell you about what does that tell you about hyperinflation? That it has nothing to do with supply. It has nothing to do with supply. What in the world? hold on. 99.9% of all cryptocurrencies have hyperinflated while having fixed supplies. 99.9% are fixed supplies. I mean, there's a constant additioning of Bitcoin coming into this, so it's not a fixed supply. Okay, I mean, I don't think you. I mean, I'm sorry, Ted. I don't mean to criticize, but I don't think you quite understand the cryptocurrency market there. All right, the gold-backed currency is rare. Yeah, I like those like those gold bucks. They were like an actual, looked like a dollar bill. It almost looked like a little piece of tinfoil or something like that. But they actually had gold in them. Like the bill itself had gold. Like you could melt it down and get the gold out of it. But then people could use it as a transaction because it was a fixed amount of gold, but it was just a small piece. So it was something you could carry around in your wallet. I thought that was pretty cool. All right. I did the helium for years that crashed. Hyperinflation is a psychological phenomenon. It's not a psychological phenomenon. Yeah, it was a psychological phenomenon. I mean, Zimbabwe and the Weimar Republic with, trillion-dollar bills kind of thing going on. That's not a psychological phenomenon. That was them literally printing to try and outrun their debt, and it was like, it wasn't a psychological phenomenon. It was mismanagement and poor conditions. It's ultimately, like that's something like the hyperinflation scenario that those other nations experienced, like what they thought, like people would say would happen to the United States, is such a different deal. It's like literally nobody wanted their money. Nobody wanted to touch it. Everybody wants the dollar, right? So if nobody wanted the dollar, then I would agree with it. But people are taking out ever increasing amounts of more debt in dollars. Like 65, what were we reading? $65 trillion worth of debt that's due outside of the United States that doesn't have anything to do with us, right? Like when that's taken place, that's a demand for dollars that is going to continue. If people weren't doing that, then yeah, I could see a hyperinflation scenario. All right. Let's cruise down to the bottom. How far away are we? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My God, I didn't realize how far away you were. Okay. Let's go cruising down here. I'm sorry if I skipped over a lot of questions and comments and statements, but there's no way I can get through all these. So I'm going to cruise back down to the bottom here so I can get closer to the conversation. But what about Bitcoin? So Bitcoin boy ultimately had to convert his cherished Bitcoin to use buy something physical world. Who knew? So Bitcoin is really a scam then. Well, why is it a scam, Benny? I mean, I had to do the same thing with gold. Is gold a scam? Right? If I wanted to spend my gold, I would have to convert it over to dollars first. Bitcoin and crypto are different things. 50K in USD. It's a scam, but the scam isn't that it's worthless. Thought Bitcoin was supposed to be overtake the dollar. I guess that would have been a matter of opinion. Who would have thought that? That won't work. You can't take over the dollar. I mean, Gresham's law just simply won't allow it, right? So once the dollar completely fails, then yeah, I guess there's probably something where Bitcoin could take over. But even that, I don't see that happening. So Gresham's law would never, ever, ever, ever allow Bitcoin to just take over the dollar as a world reserve currency. It doesn't work like that. All right, it's simple. You have Bitcoin, you love it. If you don't have it, then you complain about it all day. Yeah. You, yeah, I guess you complain about it because didn't take place in it or something. I don't know. Actually, I used Nexo to do a short-term loan against my Bitcoin. Rich people do not sell their assets and pay any capital gains. I paid off a loan and deducted the interest. And there you go. See, now that's a good way of going about it. Borrow the money and pay off a loan. Oh god, you guys having fun? All right. How many people we got up here? 126 with 94 likes, $4 in super chats. We got 6 people away from hitting that 100 mark. Why don't we get 6 people to hit the like button here in the next couple of minutes? My dollars multiplied like gremlins eating after midnight using Bitcoin. I'm sure he did. All right. UE has continually brought on the facts from the car regarding how a lot of it works. He is not emotionally attached in overplaying his hand. Thank you very much, EPR Paradox. Yeah, I mean, let me read that again because that was actually pretty good. The UE has continually brought on the facts from the car regarding how a lot of it works. He is not emotionally attached or overplaying his hand. Yeah, and that's just it, too. Like, I mean, I don't know what it is that you need to do in order to make a $1 million. Like, it was crazy. This is what's so funny about it. I have dug so deep into a lot of these economic things, all these theories, put together all this stuff, and it's amazing. It's the guys who have the most money who are coming to me and saying, "Dude, what do you think about this? And what are your thoughts on the future and stuff like that?" The people who are giving me the hardest time are the people who don't have anything. Like, I kid you not. Like, there's even at work, like there's a couple of guys who kind of make fun of me because I always, go on all the time, right? So it's just like, if you guys knew me at work, you would be annoyed. But like, there's a couple of guys, and I think about it, and I'm like, man, you are doing nothing. You are doing nothing, man. You have so many skills, so many opportunities, so much potential. You do nothing. You show up every day, you go home. And I'm like, dang, man, there's so much you have after that. But yet they're making fun of me, and I'm thinking, what? I just went to Vegas and spoke on stage in front of a bunch of people and had a great time doing it. What did you do this weekend, man? So, like, I don't mean to like brag myself up, but I'm not really like, I'm not, I'm not here into it anymore to try and be. I never was trying to be impressive. I mean, you can see that by my past videos, but I guess I just don't care anymore. I mean, I had a guy come up to me and he says, "Dude," he says, "I just sold off a bunch of stuff. I have about $750,000. What do you think I should do with it?" And I'm like, "Jesus, dude, you got $750,000? Holy crap!" Yeah, and I'm thinking, damn, and you're asking me what to do with it? Like, he was like honestly wanting my opinion. He's like, man, what are things going on? What do you think about the cryptos? What do you think about gold? What do you think about? Because he's getting out of real estate. He's done. He doesn't want to be in the real estate game anymore. And I thought to myself, and I'm like, man, that is crazy. That this dude who's been in business his whole life, like, just killed it, did really, really well, and he comes to me and he says, man, I got this cash and I'm not sure exactly where I should go with it. What do you think? I mean, and I'm like, wow, man, that's pretty cool. I didn't think I would have people doing that, but yet it happens a lot, like all the time, all the time. And it's just like, and it takes me back, and I'm like, wow, man, you're asking me what you should do with your money, man. I mean, I'm just talking about the economy. I don't know where you should go with your money, man. What do you need? What do you like? I don't know. Let me talk. You going to Mexico next year? What are you doing? I don't know what you need to do with your money, I just talk about what's going on, Benny, you don't have any clue. Please do some research. Oh, Benny's just kind of like a troll. He just likes poking fun at people and stuff. He's cool. All right, Simon, you like any energy stocks long term? The only energy stock I'm really getting into right now is ExxonMobil, and that was off of the advice of a friend. So, I mean, I really can't give you any advice on anything else, but that's the one I'm buying. Best price said BTC would overtake the dollar, and we would be buying things in Satoshis. He said it's not me. Okay. Benny, I don't know. You tell me that I go speeding and have tickets and do all kinds of stuff, so I can't really take your trust on what best price said, because you said so much stuff about me, and that wasn't true. So I can't trust you, Benny, because I never gotten a ticket ever, bro. But you keep saying that. You keep thinking I get these tickets and stuff because you're a troll. All right. Currency has to be inflationary or no one would want to spend it. Well, it doesn't have to be inflationary. I mean, currency can be anything, right? A cigarette isn't inflationary, but it can be used like currency. So it's not, and inflation does, I mean, a currency doesn't have to be inflationary. It's just that if you want to continue to have something that is going to be continuously used going into many, many years without the booms and bust cycles that gold would bring, then you have to have that ever increasing like debt cycles that brings in ever increasing amounts of more money. So, or, because I mean, basically debt is money. The more debt you have, the more money you have. If you got rid of all the debt, you would get rid of all the money. All right. Oh, hey, cool. Another super chat. Let's go check that out. EPR Paradox, $10. Thank you so much, man. You ain't bragging, Hunsley, honestly. It's reality. You have sat here reading about credible threats from Williams for what going on 2 years? Yeah, actually, it's been longer than that because I read that speech. I think the first time I read that speech was, oh, excuse me, stretching my back there. I think the first time I read that speech was right at the end of 2018. It was right at the beginning of 2019. And in fact, I did there's a playlist, I think is one of the first one. I think it's playlist and I think it's Fed speech. And that was the first time I was kind of reading through it. And it was funny because I went back and I listened to myself. This is a good one, guys. Here's a good one. There's a playlist down on my channel, and it's Fed speech, and it's me reading that John Williams speech, monetary policy strategies for a low neutral interest rate world, and it was like either the first or second time that I had ever read that speech, and I was trying to interpret it. And I was breaking it down really slowly, like trying to understand everything within it. And I was like, I remember at one point I went back and looked at the video and I'm like, dude, you are so wrong. You read that and took it completely wrong. And so like it was amazing to see my confusion that when reading that, like in thinking, it was like, okay, so I'm breaking this down, trying to understand it, and I had so many assumptions and misunderstandings. So it's kind of funny to look at myself actually read that speech and see how like how bad I got it really, how bad it was. But then to know that how well it actually ended up working out over these years, because now it's just like that John Williams speech, and then the Ben Bernanke one, like those two were so instrumental in like foreseeing how it is that the Federal Reserve was going to be conducting themselves. The only thing that like the only thing that I would really honestly feel that I got like absolutely wrong when it came to predicting the Federal Reserve and their policy was when they were at the lower bound of zero and they started to go raising interest rates. I said that they were not going to be able to raise them much more above 2.5%, because last time they got it up to 2.5%, the whole market was just flipping out and nobody liked that. So I thought for sure, it was just like, man, if they get to 2.5%, that's going to be a very painful experience and most people aren't going to be able to handle it. And the Federal Reserve will most likely either stall out or have to reverse course. Now, they blew way past 2.5%, like boom, way past it. And so I got to thinking to myself, I was like, man, why did I get that wrong? Did I I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, I think about it, it's just like, man, it seems like 2.5, that should have been it. Like it should, like that 2.5% should have been too much for the market to bear because they just couldn't handle that much of an increase. But one of the things that I was not thinking at the time was the neutral interest rate, right? The interest rate in which that is neither accommodating nor restricting the economy. And if the Federal Reserve is above the neutral rate, they are restricting the economy. However, as they raised the Fed funds rate, the neutral interest rate started to rise with it, making the economy less restrictive than what it would have been if it was at zero, right? So as I was thinking, if the Federal Reserve raises the interest rates to 2.5%, that's going to be very restrictive on the economy. It was me thinking about the neutral interest rate being at the lower bound of zero, right? But if the Fed raises their interest rates up to 5% and the neutral interest rates goes to 2.5 to 3%, they're still only about 2% or 2.5% above the neutral interest rate, which is about where I said it would be, right? That's why I got it wrong. I didn't think about the neutral interest rate rising with the Fed funds rate, which totally makes sense now, but I didn't really think about that at the time. It just, because it had been low for like 20 years or something. I don't know how low the neutral interest, but it was like historically low and like stuck low, right? So to me, it was just like, I missed that part. It was just like as the Fed funds rate starts to move up and the inflation is running up, it's going to start pulling that neutral interest rate up with it. And I was like, now that I look back, I was like, damn, that makes so much more sense now, right? But at the time, I couldn't see that, or I didn't see that, and that's why I was saying is they're not going to get it above 2.5%. So I missed that, but I really didn't. Like I just misunderstood it in a way that that I now clearly understand. But that's the whole point: is you go back and you realize what mistakes you made when making that call and why it didn't work out the way it did. So it didn't work out the way I thought it would, but now I understand why. But it still kind of did, when you think about how far above the neutral interest rate they are today, which is only like about 2.5%. And if they went any further, they would be very restrictive on the economy, and it would piss everybody off, which it already kind of does. Right on. You guys having fun? We got 114 people watching with 107 likes. Thank you so much. And thank you again, EPR Paradox, for the $10. That was very cool of you. Yeah. Simon, you did speed. I didn't. I don't speed, bro. You know that, all right? Those traffic infractions don't write themselves. And since they have never been written, right? See, this is Benny. Benny and I, like, I've gotten to know Benny a little bit now. He's just a straight up troll. He's pretty fun. Not so much the case for Saudi royal families, Qatars, or Rothschilds. All right. Also, you do loans against crypto. They used to also pay interest, but due to U.S. restrictions, only accept customers from outside the U.S. for their earn feature. Yeah, I had who was it? Abra? Yeah, Abra. Abra had something very similar to that, but then they were like, "No, dude, you're American. You gotta get out." So I had to. I just basically unloaded all my crypto and moved it off of there. But for a while, I was collecting an interest rate on my cryptos, which I thought was cool. I was just like, "Cool, I'll just do this forever." But then they were like, "Nah, you can't do it because you're American." Uh, Benny. Okay, Adam Hastings. Anyone knowledgeable on XRP and the ISO token? The telephone is a Ponzi scheme too. um, the interest rate went way up, but the government was spending money like crazy. Benny the Troll. Him. The return is still not worthwhile on a T-bills. Yeah, I mean, I thought about it. It's just like, that was one of the things that the guy asked me, and I was just like, I mean, shit. He does pretty well, so it's not like, to me, like getting like if you put that money, like I think he was saying something like if you put it into his bank account or something, he would get like $3,500 a month. Now to me, I'm like, dang man, that's cool, right? That's like where I would want to be. I would want to be at $3,500 a month. That would totally that would just about cover my bills. Like I could totally live, like I could retire at that, I mean for the most part, and just do my thing, and like because I always do side hustles. So but like ultimately that would like kind of bare bones cover my life, and really really tightly, but I mean I make pay the bills anyway, so I think about that and I'm just like, dang, that's really a fairly decent return, but it's not that great, right? Not for all that money, for me, like that much money should really have like something grand, like something that's significant coming back. Which, again, $3,500, that's a lot of money, I mean, for anybody. But, as far as like having like close to $1 million, I would think that I would have something better than that. All right. Each additional telephone adds to the network and turn makes existing phones more valuable as they have more points of contact. Ponzi, Also, deja. All right, EPR Paradox. Thank you again for the $5. Thank you so much. I think I understand now why you wanted people to move your paid stream. Yeah, and you see, like, and this is it. This is why I do encourage you. Like, I mean, now that we only have 98 people watching right now, but I am gonna do some live streams, some member-only live streams. I just been kind of busy over the last week when we went to Vegas and stuff, and then trying to, just get back here and get back in the to the swing of things. But we'll do some private only live streams, which are way cool. Like, I mean, they're very deep. So we get into some really like, I mean, we start really diving deep into like the Fed speeches. We cover some really like, I mean, I don't even know how to like to describe it other than just the highest level of Fed speech and monetary policy. Like, this is the highest level of it. And I'm sure there's much higher levels in it, but when it comes to like what I'm doing on my channel, it's the highest level, right? For the uneducated economist part of things. And they're very deep, right? I mean, so it's just like the discussion on them is very serious. We take it very seriously. When we read through these things, the discussion that we have is from like very intelligent people who know exactly, not know exactly, I should say, but or on the same idea as far as what it is that the Federal Reserve and their monetary policy is. We discuss this thing in a much deeper fashion than what we would find here on a regular live stream or even in a 10-minute video. So, like, I very much encourage people to go and join up on the membership. It's $1 a month, right? That's it. Like, I literally set it so low that it was like almost insignificant, but that slight separation by having people actually pay $1 a month to be part of that particular membership for the live stream really sets that class apart. Like, it's very, I don't even know how to describe it other than very serious and, you know, I don't know, like purposeful. Like, we are definitely there for a purpose. Yeah. So the Ponzi's aren't necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, that's kind of true. All right. Thanks again, EPR. All right. If you got it to risk. Uh, I'm all in on Simon Coin. Well, there you go, Benny. Man, now we're talking. What's the risk? Damn right, Benny. To the moon. All right. No quantum resistance next. Remember, 98% of cryptos will fail. Only invest in the top 2%. There is only one Bitcoin. It is the top crypto asset for a reason. Yeah, I agree with you, Best Price. I mean, all these people talk about all these different coins. I mean, I buy Bitcoin. Like, it's the only, I mean, I do buy a couple of the other altcoins just for fun. I don't know why else I would buy them, but I guess for fun, just to have them so I can look at them there in my portfolio or something. But for the most part, yeah, I just buy Bitcoin and that's it. All right. I'm still recovering from Vegas and I didn't even sin. Yeah, I know. Vegas was a good time, man. It was a lot of fun hanging out there. And I agree. Like, Old Nighter mentioned saying that he thinks it's probably one of the best conferences he had ever been to, or at least one of the best. And I agree with him. I mean, the energy at that one was just so awesome. And I really, the more that I think about it, I really think it's because everybody was of the same mindset. Like, everybody was there for the idea of real estate, um, all somewhat on the same page with their ideas and stuff. Like, I don't know, like what I mean by that. When you go to like at not to accuse, but some of the other ones, it's like you almost have like these different, like, not like cliques, but just like these different groups. Like, it's just like you got some guys who are like, part of this over here and that over there. This seemed like one group. It was like us. It was like the Zuber group or something. And I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but like at the other ones, it's this kind of like the separation. You got like this group and that group, and, over there. Like, maybe some of the speakers like have their fans, kind of like secluding it or something like that. But this was like everybody there was like there for the same reason. It doesn't benefit retirement. Spend it or pass it on. Hey, thank you, EPR, for joining the channel, man. That's really cool. Welcome, EPR. Done joined. Yeah, you did. Thank you. Did you indulge in some toking of coking on trip to Vegas, Simon? I didn't. No, no toots and no whores. Heard you made a purchase at the store once again. No, I didn't. You liked them shoes I had on, didn't you? All right. $438, excuse me? What's that? Monero XMR is the best currency possible right now, UE. Look into it. Yeah. Privacy is everything, and in the future, yeah. No, I don't knock Monero and its and what it can do, and its privacy and all that other stuff. Like I'm not knocking that at all. Like I totally agree. Um, in fact, I was what was it? The Magical Crypto Friends. Is that what it was? Magical Crypto Friends or something? There was the four of them, like Charlie Lee and all the I can't remember all their names or whatever. But there was like four of them, and they had this YouTube channel, and they were like, they would just discuss kind of crypto things, and it was pretty cool. He was like one of them, like this big Monero guy, and I'm like, I like the idea of it. It's just the again, if you go and you ask, I mean, I don't care. You could probably put 10,000 people in a room, and I doubt any of them would know what Monero is, right? I mean, most of them will probably know what Bitcoin is, but I doubt any of them would know what Monero is. And so the idea of Monero actually becoming a popular coin that people are going to use is to me, is like a very low possibility right now. I mean, can it in the future? Does it now? Sure, it can do all kinds of things, but is it going to be what Bitcoin is? No, I doubt it. I very much doubt that. Any chance you could wiggle it down to 50 cents, Simon? You could still pay your speeding ticket. Jeez. All right. XMR is garbage being delisted. All right. With 750K, you put all that into T-bills, it's 3,200 a month. Yeah, and that's what he was basically saying too. I think it's bad advice if you tell someone not to take that deal. No, I didn't tell him not to take it. I didn't tell him not to take it. I said that's a hell of a lot of money to be putting in there, and he doesn't need it. Like that's the other thing. It was just like I don't need, like, he's got money, and so um but I told him, like, I basically, like, we sat down and we talked. He was like, because he was very interested in like cryptocurrencies and other things, and I'm like, well, whatever, man, and so I was just giving him my advice on it. I can't possibly give him advice. Like, there's no way. Like, that dude has far more money than I do, and there's nothing like, whatever decide. It's just like I'm just giving him some kind of opinion or input from my economics point of view. I mean, so to me, like, I would love to have that coming in every month. Like if I had that coming in every month, I would be like, I would be stoked, right? But to him, I don't know if that's going to be really that impressive to him. Like I don't know if that's really going to change his life much. We need to get off centralized exchanges, atomic swaps, decentralized. Crazy to think 750,000 only nets 3,200 a month. I'm assuming that's pre-tax as well. On the road again. See you guys again when I park. Right on. See you all nighter. All right. B-Pod, Monero, XMR, Silver are my two favorite assets to stack right now. Crazy undervalued. BTC and Sol, Solana, everything else is second best. Park the car, hider. Remember, no speeding and to use your mirrors. See now, I like how Betty's like all like, hey man, I'm cool, I'm nice. Betty's cool. All right, so much cooperation. All right, how do you view others in your space? I have found your content to be factual and consistent. Not to say that others in that space are not, yet they are rather poised on fear. Well, I tell you what, EPR, I really appreciate that EPR paradox. I do appreciate, especially the comment about being consistent, because that's the only thing I can really do for you guys, is I can be honest and consistent with who I am and what I'm doing out here. And so I don't really care what other people are up to or saying. I don't know. And I do care. Like, don't give me that, but I don't in the sense that, if they are saying something different from me, that's fine. Like, and even if they, like, somebody was to come out on their channel and say that the uneducated economist is absolutely wrong, he's not getting it right, he doesn't know what he's talking about. If they were to say that, that's fine. That's like, I mean, I'm not going to get upset with that at all. But at the end of the day, I don't care. that they say it, right? Because I know what I know, and I know what it is that I'm talking about here, because I have studied this long enough that I can hold my own now. Like, I don't need somebody else's validation or approval or anything else. Like, I will go toe to toe with my ideas and my theories against anybody. Like, anybody. I don't care. Like, at this point, there's no economist out there that I am worried about, going against, as far as my theories, my monetary policy strategy theories that I have gathered over, the years that I've been doing this. And, again, like, if there's somebody out there who wants to say anything, like, as far as like, whatever it is that they feel, they think that, the government's coming down, they think inflation's going to fly, they think that the whole dollar's going to crash, they can say all these things, and then they can call me crazy for whatever it is that I say. That's absolutely fine. I mean, and that's their opinion about it, and they might be valid in a lot of things that they say. They might have some factual evidence on the things that they bring to the table as far as their evidence goes. I still believe in mine more than anything. Like, mine are, I'm with it. Like, I have studied this stuff every day so long, for so hard now, that there's no way that I could ever deviate from what it is that I'm thinking and feeling. Right? I just can't do it, because like it would be going against what I feel. So when I see all these people talking about, like, especially when it came to hyperinflation, I just like, I'm thinking, man, what are you gonna say? What are all these hyperinflation scenario people going to say when it doesn't happen? Like, you lose all your credibility, like all of it. All right. People were telling that I lost my credibility because inflation wasn't transitory. Right. And I was just like, give it time, guys. It's like, if it's not transitory, then why the hell did lumber land back down at a normal price? Right. If it wasn't transitory. Why did felt barely even move? Asphalt impregnated felt paper, right? Most people don't even know what the hell that is, but it hardly even moved, right? So I had all these things that I could look at. I knew for evidence. I knew down inside. It was just like, man, inflation is going to come down. Once the supply chain comes back, and it's not going to come back fast, right? Even though that Jerome Powell was expecting help from the supply side, which was complete garbage. But, I knew it. I just knew. I could just see it. I could sense it. And, I'm sticking to it. There's like, again, like there's whether somebody else out there says that, I'm like the uneducated economist, doesn't know what he is talking about, and it might be somebody who's high level understanding of economics and, been in this game for a long time. I don't care. Like, I literally don't. And, I'm gonna get up on stage. I'm gonna say my piece. I'm gonna say the things the way that I see them and the way that I've, focused in on them for the last few years. And, you know, if I'm wrong, it'll come out. And it'll come out in the wash. Eventually, things will happen in a way that is different from what I was predicting. And as far as I can tell from the things that I'm reading through the Federal Reserve, I mean, the things that I'm predicting is the things that they're talking about in their monetary policy strategy. It's not hard. It's like, literally, it's easy, once you grasp it. And the hardest part is to actually let go of all the misbeliefs that we were growing up with our entire lives. That's the hardest part, is to let go of all that stuff. All right. Hey, cool. Another super chat. Let's go check it out. Jared, thank you so much for the $5. Just wanted to say hi. It was awesome meeting you this weekend, Simon. You rocked the stage, and more people asked questions from you than anyone. Well, thank you, Jared. It was a great time. I do admit, I was like, you can't go up in front of a few hundred people and not be nervous, right? I mean, it's just like, you can't, like, I don't know, maybe some of those guys can. I can't. Like, I go up on stage, I'm gonna be nervous when I get up there, because you got, like, a couple of hundred eyes staring at you and stuff. But it feels so natural once you get into it. Once you are doing it, and once you're going for it, and you're in the thick of it, man, it's just like, dude, it feels good. It feels good to be up there. It feels good to, like, give your opinions and thoughts, and then have everybody cheering, and then ask you questions, and patting you on the back and saying, man, you did a great job. Love to, can't wait to follow your channel. Can't wait to hear more from you. Can't wait to see you at the next speaking engagement, which I was already working on. I talked with another guy just even today, who's wanting to do something in May. So I'm really looking forward to that. I hope he gets it set up. All right. All right. Appreciate you, Yui, and everyone. Well, thank you, Deja Vu. That's really cool for you to say. I couldn't live on 3,200 a month. Yeah, I think I could. I think I could. Best price. You know, I mean, it would be tough. Like, I wouldn't be able to do much, but I think I could actually, like, if I would get rid of the phone, if I could have like 32 guaranteed $100 a month coming in, I could probably make that work, and then especially if I could do side gigs, if I could just kind of like just do my side hustles for just fun or whatever, then I bet you I can make that work. Yeah. Like I don't need nothing in my life, man. I don't like all my entertainment, all my fun, all my joy, and all that other stuff doesn't come from material things or spending money or anything like that. So I don't need any. Like I could totally make $3,200 work. Uh, Not much wiggle room for investing or doing anything else. No, there really wouldn't be. Not no. So I own two houses, pay cash for both. Right on, Best Buy or Best Price. Sorry. I have been living off of $3,000 a month since 2015. Bitcoin will be the global monetary base layer one day. All fiats go to zero eventually, and Bitcoin is the world's best money. Mr. B, you're wrong. And here's the reason why is that, I mean, I guess if the fiat currencies completely fail, then what we're going to end up doing is going to gold and silver, right? That will end up being the base money. And the only reason why I say that is because that's the way it's always happened, right? Now we do have this added layer of a digital component to it, but there's nothing that can happen within the economy right now that's going to allow Bitcoin to ever become a world reserve currency unless the fiat currency completely collapses, like no use at all from anyone anywhere. And I don't see that taking place. I see the dollar's use is very prevalent around the world. $65 trillion in debt and only growing. That is actually the problem for the Federal Reserve, that they are not going to be able to print at a pace that is fast enough to cover all that debt. So to me, it's not the Bitcoin that's going to be taking over. Bitcoin is going to be there, it's going to be useful. And if there was a complete collapse of this fiat currency itself, then I would imagine it would definitely play its role, but it certainly wouldn't do what gold and silver will do. All right. Because gold and silver are the proven ones. And I have very little doubt in my mind that they will be in the future too. If that was to happen, which I don't think will. All right. You know what they say when you assume Django? What if he has a multi-million-dollar house? All right. Are you in low cost of living, Django? I'm in the suburbs, DC burbs. So DJ, how was Bidenomics been working for you with that limited 3,300? I don't know what is like, that's so funny, Best Price, because I don't even know what the hell. I've studied this stuff a lot. Like, I think I know a lot about the economy. Like, I don't know everything. I especially don't know a lot about, like, when it comes to picking out the appropriate company to invest in. Like, I don't know how to do that kind of thing. Like, read charts and say, yeah, the P ratios and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. But I know how to, like, kind of follow the Federal Reserve and really kind of grasp with their monetary policies. I kind of get a good idea on how economic forces are working and stuff like that. But I have no clue what the hell Bidenomics is. Bidenomics. I don't know what that is. Like, I study this stuff a lot, and I couldn't even tell you one thing on what that would be. Like, I can't find that anywhere within anything that I study or understand or know about. Like, I cannot find what the hell Bidenomics is. I hear all these people talk about it, and I look through all these papers, all these speeches, all this stuff that I find, and I don't know what the hell Bidenomics is. Like, I have no clue. If somebody says, here, describe Bidenomics, I would be like, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know, And so I don't think it exists. I think it's a complete fabrication on the news that people have made up in their own head, you know? I literally do, because I can't find it. I don't know what the hell it is. All right, right? That's how I got to agree to joining Peeps are going off the well, so much crying, and here you sit accurate again, and I have yet to find a single content P. Yeah. Thank you, man, EPP. If I got you right there, and here you sit, accurate again, and I have yet to see a single content P. Yeah, I mean, I'm I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to get everything accurate or right or whatever. The housing market, like when it came to buying this house, I got that wrong, right? I thought for sure that the house was going to go underwater after I purchased it. I mean, it was like once these interest rates go up, there's no way it's just going to be that way. And I'm going to have to deal with the consequences of buying a house again that went underwater and having to mail and said all that other stuff. Completely wrong. 100% wrong. Went right the other way. Completely different from what I thought it was going to happen, right? Totally got that wrong. So I'm willing to admit that it's probably one of the best things that I ever got wrong because my fear is really what did it to me. I look back on that and I literally fed that crap into myself, right? I was scaring the shit out of myself because I didn't really want to buy this house. I was, you know, didn't know what the hell I was doing, as far as I felt like I didn't know what I was doing in the sense that I felt like I was being forced into it, right? And I was just like, damn it, man, I can't go any other all this other stuff. Anyway, all said and done, I look back on that day. I am so damn happy I did it. I am so happy I bought this house. I am so happy about it. All right. I got in a house early, only $600 a month mortgage. See, that's badass right there. All right. You couldn't live off of $3,300 a month best price. You're up to your eyeballs in mortgage payments and fancy used cars. Oh, who knows? All right, EPR provider expressing as such. Huh. Okay. Got the Jared. Okay. Thanks again, Jared, for the $5, man. That was really cool of you. Benny, again, if you live around any major areas, you aren't getting $600 mortgages. Best price. I have zero debt, Benny zero, and several BTC and multiple wallets. All right, thanks. All right, Django. Like I said, I got in early. My home was 115,000. Nice. See, these are the stories that I really like to hear about. There's already hyperinflation on certain items, and everything costs more, a lot more. Okay, everything? Is that what it is? Everything costs more, a lot more. I got some saw blades that cost $6.50 a piece, which typically would cost 10. Those aren't more. I got lumber that's selling at the price that I was selling it for back in 2017. That's not more. I got felt paper that's slightly more, but nobody really knows what felt paper is. I mean, everything. I got a lot of stuff that's coming back down to, what would be considered, I mean, although high, normal-ish price. Are they higher than they were before? Absolutely they are. They're definitely higher than they were before, but they're not extremely high, and I certainly wouldn't call it hyperinflation high. And in a lot of cases, like in lumber, a lot of that comes down. Especially with like siding. Siding got really expensive. No, I shouldn't say that. That's still expensive comparatively. We had like fiber cement siding at one point. We were selling that stuff for like, I think it was like $6 a piece or something. Now it's up around 10. So yeah, it's gone up quite a bit, but not everything. All right. Hopefully you are working remotely, making a ton, and generally employed or gainfully employed. Okay. I'm just saying, guys, you are going to have to present me a good argument to convince me that 7,150 in T-bills is a bad idea. No, Django, it's an awesome idea. It's actually probably one of the best ideas ever, especially for somebody but like you got to understand, I mean, I know the guy. It's like $3,500 a month to me is way significant, right? It would seriously impact my life in a very profound way. Like $3,500 a month would. $3,500 a month to some people isn't really going to do anything. It's like whether they got that or not, it doesn't change their life. It doesn't make any difference. It's not going to do anything, right? And it's hard for people like us to see that, like, especially when it can make such a profound impact on our lives. But for some people, that's literally like no difference in their life whatsoever. It doesn't isn't going to change anything about anything at all, right? And that's hard to it's hard to believe, right? But that is the case. And then in that sense, that $700 could be used to something that is actually more towards a business type of idea that is going to do far better than just a passive income. However, he's at a stage in his life, he's actually looking for that passive income. So that $3,500 a month probably is going to be the way he ends up going because he doesn't really need it and he doesn't really have anything else going on, right? So, yeah, right? It's probably the best idea for him. Simon, you need to be able, what does that say? You need to be able to invest in MO and TLRY. I don't know, Benny, man. I like you, but I don't know if I can trust you that much, man. All right. So I've noticed prices have gone up for sure, especially for food. Not going to argue inflation isn't making it harder for everyone. It is. I'm just saying, surprisingly, doesn't yield much. I thought on 750K you could churn out 6,000 a month, which no job is outstanding. If you make 3,300, you would probably still need to work. Yeah, no, I agree with that one, Benny. Simon Best Price buys depreciating assets and brags about having them, i.e., cars and eyeballs and stuff. Okay. Bidenomics is an expression people use. Dude, don't overthink it. Thank you, EPR. Yeah, I mean, because I want to, like, people were like, this is Bidenomics. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And so I'm like, I go through pouring my stuff and looking at my speeches and doing all the stuff and research and all this stuff. And I still don't have any clue. Like, I'm like, this doesn't exist. It's literally made up in people's heads. They don't know. So they just call it Bidenomics, right? Okay. I mean, I guess anytime I hear somebody use it, I would just have to assume you just don't know what's going on, and so you just use that as a blaming thing. Best Price, unfortunately, has all the hallmarks of being silly, adolescent, libertarian. Hey, don't be making fun of libertarians. All right. You can't Google it. Bidenomics. All right, 3,300 on top of a job would be killing it, but I agree, only it would be a minimalist lifestyle, just doable. Benny the Troll. Yeah, Benny's cool. I mean, there's some trolls out there who are just real pains in the asses. At least Benny's somewhat funny and, engages in the conversation somewhat. All right. Get out of the rat race. Hey, UE, I'm about 1 month and a half sober. Good for you, Eli. And you've inspired me on that. Thank you. Thank you, Eli, man. And it's, just remember, man, you made that decision for yourself, right? Just remember that because it's going to, I'm not trying to downplay it like anything else, man, because I really appreciate, anytime anybody's ever come to me and say, man, thank you for telling your story because, that inspired me to do it. But I just really want you to know, man, that you made that decision for yourself. Like you decided, you're like, man, that guy did it. It inspires me, but I'm going to do this, right? And so you made that decision. You decided that day that you weren't going to do it anymore. And it's important to know that that it was all for you. And hearing somebody else's story, it should for me anyway, hearing somebody else's story is what it is that it takes in order for you to finally face that fear or face whatever it is. And so for me, telling the story is really easy. At first it wasn't I didn't want to, come out and just be vulnerable and say, okay guys, listen, I was a really horrible drunk for the longest time. And that's one of the reasons why I was so messed up and got myself into the position I am in. And now I'm trying to dig myself out of it. And it's not really easy and that's not fun to tell the story. And then somebody else goes, dude, man, me too. I'm going to quit. And it's just holy shit. Just because I said that? And yeah, man, and it's just dang, that's powerful. That's more than I would ever have anticipated coming from this channel. You know what I'm saying? And so when I think about like when people tell me that, it's just like, man, you're doing it for yourself. Remember that it's always for yourself. Like, you might doing it for the family, doing it for the job, doing it for whatever. No, it's not. It's not for any of that. You know it, right? It's for you. And by doing that, you're going to become a better person. It's hard, right? You don't feel like you're going to be a better person, but you do. You end up being that way. And I guarantee you, man, you're going to look back on that and you're going to be so happy that you did. And you probably already are. Even just coming out and saying it here on, in a comment on YouTube is being pretty vulnerable to just come out there and just say, hey, man, I was this way and I'm stepping away from that. It's inspiring to even see it, to have it there, and knowing that that it occurs. So thank you for bringing that up. And, I appreciate, everybody who has said that, saying, hey, man, I appreciate your story and telling it, and it inspired me to quit. But I just always think, man, you did it for yourself, man, and I'm so proud of you for doing it, if for anybody, because it's a tough thing, man, especially if you were into it like I was, like every single day, a lot of it. And it wasn't like I was hard liquor or anything. I mean, it was, at times, but for the most part, I just drank a lot of beer and smoked a lot of weed, and I would do it every single day, every day. And, I just got to a point that it was just like, man, I ain't got no money, ain't got nothing going on, ain't got no dude. It was just horrible, right? Give all that up, and the next thing, after a while, it starts going. Uh, if you had $1 million, it would be 437, which is a little more than my salary. Yeah, if you had $1 million, it'd be pretty good. But don't you think if you had $1 million, you'd be doing much better than just having like what would be an average day job? Like if you had $1 million saved up, you would think that that would be enough that you would have like. I mean, you think about it. If you had $1 million back in the early '80s, you would get like $150,000. From the T-bills or from the bonds that were existing back then. All right. Great work, Eli. Nothing says after a month you can't dip back into the celebrate. Bullshit, Benny. Don't talk like that. Go away, man. All right. That much money would be enough to get me out of the rat race just off the current yield. Yeah. Right? Simon to this day still loves a good toke. I don't, man. I haven't. In fact, that's something, people have asked me a long time. Through all the crap that I've ever done, I managed to stay away from cocaine. Right? I didn't, like, I saw what my buddies got messed up on the meth and stuff, and I'm like, man, because that stuff was super prevalent around here, especially when, well, it wasn't especially, it's just like it's really started to get ramped up. But I had a few buddies, and I was just like, nah, I did like the hallucinogenics and, I smoked weed and drank a lot and, some pills kind of things, but I never did coke. I never did crank. I never did crystal. I never did heroin. I didn't do any of that shit. Let's get Simon invested in some nice cash flow real estate. There you go, Jared. Yeah, I mean, especially after this weekend, man, it was really hard not to be inspired to like, finally, not finally, but to take it more seriously and to looking at getting real estate. I was like, again, my area just sucks for it. I don't mean to blame my area because you could probably do it anywhere if you really worked hard enough at it. But ultimately, like I was talking to some other people around here, and they're like, man, the rental thing around here is not exactly easy. It's expensive to get the houses. It's just, I don't know. They're hard to work on, a lot of these homes and stuff. Actually, a lot of them are pretty easy to work on considering how old they are. There's nothing fancy about it, but man, some of them are just like, they are old houses in a constant state of disrepair. Way to go, Eli. Yeah, absolutely, man. Super proud of you. I wish I could get that now. Just lost my 14-and-a-half-year job at the hospital. Jesus. That sucks, GDI. Sorry about that. It's free money. What's allowed? Bidenomics could be explained in the same way as the Inflation Reduction Act. Spend money to reduce inflation when the only thing that causes inflation is the increase of money supply or spending. That's okay. I totally disagree with you. When the only thing that causes inflation is the increase of money supply by spending. All right. By spending, yeah, I guess so. Like I mean, because, okay, I do agree with you on that. See, a lot of people are just thinking, like, you print up all the money that causes inflation, but it doesn't. It actually has to be spent, and it actually has to be like in a way that now moves into all channels. So that money is being spent at all channels at once. And if this is the case, then what you'll end up having is you can have consumption rise. If you get consumption to rise, what you'll have is supply and demand imbalances, and then that what causes the prices to rise. So you're right, like creating the money and then spending it, but really you can create an inflationary scenario just by having money velocity picking up. You don't even have to, print up anything or have any new money. You can just have more the money that's already in existence speeding up and changing hand faster, which would then increase the consumption and then again throw the supply demand imbalances out of whack, which would then increase the prices and never once ever having to increase the supply of money. Alrighty, guys. What time is it? It's getting kind of late, isn't it? Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna give it like another 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna call it quits because it's almost 10 o'clock. But we got 112 people watching tonight with 128 likes and $26.09 in super chats. Let's go check that one out. I think I got another one here. Yeah, we did from BuzzTune, $2. Thank you so much for that sticker. I'm gonna cruise back down to the bottom here and get caught up on comments. Don't mean to blast through everybody here though. Exactly, Simon. It takes money to make money. Yeah, it really does. She has spoken with a mentor of mine, Zuber. I know my market, and it was a cash buy. Headed back to force appreciation in a week. It's out of state. Yeah, that was so cool to hear about All Nighter. He jumped into the real estate game with a handful of other people, and it's just like for a lot of us, it's difficult. Like, you think about it, it's just like we don't have a lot of money, we don't have a lot of ways of kind of get into this game of real estate, and really every single person that I have ever met that has any kind of significant amount of money, all the guys from the Rebel Capitalist, all this, everywhere I've ever gone as far as like, meeting these people, every one of them that has any kind of money, all of them did it in real estate. Like all of them, like every single one of them did it in real estate. And so I don't know why I would be sitting over here trying to reinvent the wheel, right? I mean, if these guys did it in real estate and it was all of them who had done it, did it in real estate, I don't know why I'd be sitting over here going, well, maybe I could figure out another way to make it like super rich. How do all you guys do it? Oh, real estate. Well, shit, I guess I gotta do real estate. I mean, that's like really what it is, right? Alright, that sucks, GDI. Sorry. Keep your head up and move forward. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a hard position, because like, especially after so long, you don't really see yourself doing much of anything else. Like, I can't imagine. I've been doing lumber sales for so long now. It's just like, man, what would I do? Like, I guess I could go back and do carpentry again. Like I can, go and, do construction work or something. But I got out of that because it was a pretty painful experience on my back, and I was thinking, I don't want to have a bad back when I grow old. I want to be able to like get around and do things like a normal human would do. And if I stay in construction, that isn't going to happen. So that was one of the reasons why I got out and started answering phones. But I can't imagine what it would be like to do anything other than sales. Like, I wouldn't do it. I'd probably just try and pursue this YouTube thing as hard as I could after that. All right, have you thought about taking a drive outside of Astoria to find land property, Simon? Benny, that's a great question, and yes, I have. My only hang up on that, and it's literally just an excuse, it's not a real reason, is that it's going to be difficult to have a property that's for like any kind of distance away from me and feeling comfortable with that without having, I guess I could hire a project manager or something. But to me, like, I would want that first house that I'm doing to try and be a rental to be something that I could actually get to, like, fairly quickly. If there was ever an issue or problem or something, I would like to be able to, like, actually travel to that house in a quick amount of time. I have a day job, which then limits me on what it is that I can do as far as it's nimble, like being nimble to just bail out and go and do whatever I want. That's a little more difficult when you're committed already to 9 to 5, 5 days a week. It's like it's not quite the same thing. So that right there keeps me hung up, right? Where it's just like, man, I find it the further I get away from the house, the less. Uh, we got a great investment team in Northwest Indiana. I'm sure the group would accept you in. Absolutely, man. I mean, you guys are so cool, man. Hey, do you think the Fed drops rates in 2024, 2025? Do you think we could enter a deflationary environment in that time? I think it's going to be very difficult to actually enter into a deflationary scenario. Like, I think that's the biggest problem for the Federal Reserve. And that's what, like, all their tools are used for, is for attempting to fight a deflationary scenario, which is exactly what happened during the last few years here. Um, everything that they describe within Ben Bernanke's speech about deflation and how to prevent it from taking place here really has occurred over the last few years. Like all the tools that he used to describe how they were going to fight deflation. So I'm not necessarily worried about a deflationary scenario just because I think the Federal Reserve is so committed to keeping any kind of deflationary scenario from taking place that they would much more approving of inflation and allowing inflation to continue than it is to allow a deflationary scenario to even hint of taking place. So dropping of interest rates, I don't want to predict the dropping of interest rates. What is going to happen is interest rates are going to probably come down once unemployment goes up. All right. So that's probably the thing to look for. Once unemployment starts to rise, this is going to give the Federal Reserve that, not necessarily the permission, but the indication in which that they are no longer achieving their dual mandate, right? So that's really what they're going to do, like low and stable prices and full employment. So right now, prices being elevated or coming down, right? They're not going to keep interest rates anything but elevated with the prices, right? So unless they are like actually in a deflation area where they are coming down significantly, prices aren't part of the concern. So then we focus in over on employment. And now it's very hard to seem to find unemployment rising, right? Which is really weird to think about. Like everybody from my entire life was always concerned about unemployment, right? But now unemployment doesn't seem to be a concern. Like the Federal Reserve can tighten monetary policy and doesn't create this, I mean, it does create a bunch of layoffs, but those layoffs are now moving into like service industry jobs, right? So it's not like there is a rise in unemployment. So if there's no rise in unemployment, then why would the Federal Reserve move at all? They don't have any reason to. So unless everybody loses their job or an actual deflationary scenario starts to kick in, the Federal Reserve isn't going to do anything at all. Like, I don't care what markets do. I don't care what politicians say. I don't care any of that. But if prices don't come like significantly go into like a deflationary scenario, and I wouldn't even say significantly, just going into deflation, which I don't see happening. There's still an inflation in the unemployment, right? And with all these job openings and whatever still available, somebody was telling me that across America there is still 1 million uh, service, like restaurant industry jobs available. 1 million of them, right? Just in the restaurant industry. It's just like, man, that's just mind blowing to think. So, there's a lot of jobs available there. Alrighty, guys, what time is it? It's probably getting late. Let's see here. Yeah, we're going to give it just a few more minutes, maybe 8 minutes or so. Get it till 10 o'clock, and then we're going to call it quits because everybody needs to go to bed. All right. Thanks, Paradox. Trying to stay positive, just not getting any calls for interviews since October of last year. Benny Jitters. You would need rates of 9.6% to make 6K a month off in 750. What's up, Deja? No like Indiana? All right, not at all. Didn't realize you were based in Indiana, Hyder. Indy would be a market grade. Hyder, you're crushing it. Yeah, he is. I mean, you should have seen it. Hyder jumped right up on stage to ask me that question. And he took his opportunity to speak in front of a crowd, right? That's what it is, man. You take it when you can see it, opportunity. And that's what Hyder's all about, man. To be honest, oh wait, we already read that. Okay, it's Fetch in the middle. Okay, I'm in San Diego, Benny, headed to Indiana in a week. Wow. One before Durango to Simon points. If you have 1.4 million to put into something, you would probably aren't worried about getting 6K a month. You probably made more than that and get 1.4 unless inherited, huh? Very true, Benny. Great to hear, Hyder. I bet you have some great stories about San Diego. San Diego is beautiful. Can't understand why you stay. Indiana is a great spot for investment. I'm about to lose my job because British Columbia wants to destroy our short-term rental bill. 35. Yeah, I'm going to read up on that a little bit. I should call Mike. I should talk to Mike in the night. Alright. I'm tied here. 2 kids with 2 moms. I sure would be happy with 10 to 12% rates. I'm in T-bills. Oh, here I thought I was simply the weather keeping you. All right. Inflation is number one because of widening gap between the rich and the poor because rich have assets that also inflate in price and poor have few assets and only see their paychecks by less. You need to get a jet set hider. I'm sure the mothers and kids will all thank you later. Huh. There it is. Hey, I got another one from EPR. Oh gosh, guys, it's getting late here. I'm gonna have to go. All right, real estate is. Wait, what does that say? Real estate is it, Yui. Just like you got your foot in the door with your first, second time. That's where you began. Gotta start somewhere. It sucks going from renter to learn that. Yeah, thank you, EPR. Yeah, and I totally agree. Like, I'm glad I got this house. Like, I really am. It's given me a place that I can raise the boys that are really, like, it's a safe neighborhood. It's a clean neighborhood. It's a quiet neighborhood. It's the school is good. It's the one that went to, I grew up at. So I'm really happy to have this. And I would imagine that, once the kids have moved out, that I would probably end up renting this place out. So it's destined for that. I don't really I think about it as just like, man, I took out a house loan, a 30-year house loan at like 46 years old. Like, I'll never own this thing outright. But then if I'm renting it out, I don't really care at that point, as long as the rent is more than the payment, and insurance and all that other stuff. Then, it's kind of like, destined to be that. It's probably going to be my rental income in the future at some point. So it's just delayed to that time, which it really isn't going to be that far away. You think about it, less than 10 years. And in the meantime, I get to live here. Great video. Well, thank you, man. I was hoping it wasn't too boring, but we have 102 people watching right now, so yeah, we're having a good time. Is crime that bad, Indiana, for Wayne, Indiana? Only meteors I could have issues. All right, maybe East Chicago. All right. Here, cool. We're down at the very bottom here. EPR says GDI, the game is wild. It's all about the network. What are you looking for next? Literally just telling some kids about this, not downplaying you or situation, just being real. Where would you live if you rented out the primary residence? Where would I live? To be honest with you, man, what I would really like to do is cruise around with Sarah and go actually tour, man. It would be fun. Maybe get RV type of thing, like a smaller one, travel van, and go cruise, go, see places that I haven't really got to go visit. I think that would be a lot of fun, like just literally just drive to wherever it is that would be a fun place to be, like, hey, there's a music festival happening, whatever. Go down, visit all nighter, go drive to visit other people, across the country. I don't know, man. Just go have fun. I've been stuck for so long. I would rather actually just be just on the move and not be tied to anything. I love that for you, Simon. All right. Another mortgage. Just here today, Bitcoin is the worst currency possible and would never work as a currency. Well, I agree with half of that. I mean, I think it's the greatest currency ever, as far as that goes, being able to transact with another person on the other side of the world without anybody telling you that you can't, no authority that can stop it. I like that, like especially if it's outside of the government's control. Now it really makes me happy. So, I think it's the greatest currency for that, but then I also agree it'll never work as a currency because Gresham's law just simply wouldn't allow it to happen. So I agree and I disagree. If you had Bitcoin to burn, what could try to physically buy with it these days? If I had Bitcoin to burn, what could try to physically buy with it these days? Like, I mean, you want to, like, what you could actually physically go and get? And probably nothing. And not a whole lot of people will straight up take it that I would want. But, like, I don't really have any intentions on, like, I would rather acquire Bitcoin and just have it and then borrow against it later on in the future. So I wouldn't, like, sell it for anything. Oh, excuse me. All right. Thanks for the live stream, Yui. This is my favorite channel on YouTube, inspiring me to be better with my money and learn more about the economy. Well, thank you, Scotcher Del Norte. Well, I appreciate it, man. That's exactly what I was hoping for this channel is, to, find people just like that, looking to do better, looking to chase excellence, looking to understand this for what it is. I mean, we could sit around talking about New World Order and about how they're going to come and take us all apart and stuff like that and make us eat bugs and know nothing and be happy and stuff like that. I don't know how helpful that stuff is. It's kind of entertaining. I mean, I used to be that way, so I kind of like thought about like kind of stuff. But then I thought, man, it's not useful and it's not helpful. What we're doing, this kind of discussion, breaking this stuff down, internalizing the information, and getting the opinions. Like, you know, you get some opinions of people who have actually succeeded, right? And like people who have actually succeeded have some pretty good information because you think about it when you're listening to somebody who hasn't succeeded, right, you're not getting information on how to succeed. And that's really where I find like my information is like a little difficult to try and like present out there. So it's like, hey, I have like succeeded in making $1 million. Well, no, you hadn't, dude. Right. But I have succeeded in doing a lot of things. And part of that is growing this huge channel on YouTube just simply by basically restating all this complex economics information in a way that people could actually understand. And not only has that benefited me, myself, and the decisions that I've made throughout my life, I know that it's benefited other people too. And I've had so many people now come to me and say, man, this has made such a difference in my life. You would not believe how like appreciative I am for you putting out all these videos and just keep talking and doing what you do. And I look back on it and it was just like, man, I don't need to have $1 million. Like to me, like I don't even know why I would want $1 million. My success was being able to pay my bills without stressing about it, where I could do things in my life without having to wonder how it is that I have to take away from something else in order to do this other thing. You know, I travel around, I meet awesome people, I'm living it up. Like I can't imagine how my life could be any better than it is right now. Like I literally can't. I mean, yeah, you can have some really fun stuff. You can have some great things. You can do all the fancy cars or whatever. But then would you be on a journey? Would you be on a journey of like chasing excellence and trying to find like the better things in your life? Trying to, figure out who it is that you were supposed to be after you gave up drinking and realized that you were mentally messed up? Like all this stuff is like so awesome to go through. Like I wouldn't change any of this for the world. I mean, I don't need I'm gonna have a lot of money at some point in my life, I'm sure of it. Right. But right now I don't need that money. What I need to do is doing what I'm doing. And this is exactly what I feel that I need to be in the place that I need to be at and doing what I'm doing. And I'm not promising anybody anything. Like I don't think I ever once ever told anybody if you follow my channel you'll be a millionaire. I don't think I mean that's not something that I think. Like I don't think that at all. You know, if you follow my channel, what I think is going to end up happening is that you're going to start seeing the economy in a way that then allows you to start making the best and most appropriate decisions for yourself. That's what I really honestly think is going to happen. You'll walk through this world with confidence, knowing what's going on out there, not freaking out about Bidenomics, like, thinking that's what destroying your life or causing the gas prices to go up. You know, all that stuff just fades away. All right, are we done? We're done, guys. I'm just going to read the last couple comments here, and then we're going to call it quits. All right. I'm a proud mom. Well, great for you, Deja Vu. All right, correct, Dr. Cash. Mostly all the world's debt is denominated in dollars. That's right. Don't forget that this guy's education is beyond many of us. Education is growth. Thank you, man. Every day I'm trying. I first got into Bitcoin in 2016 around $500. Wow, bro, that's the place to be. So I tried to get in at 18. I didn't do it. Damn, BP, that's early. Nice. Yeah, it is. All right, Simon. Excellence is often found in the bottom of the bottle or at the end of a blunt in line or in line. I know this because you've said this before. Dude, you're such a I just like if you weren't so damn funny, man. All right. And I'm always spend my Bitcoin. Don't believe best price. He's full of tales. No, Benny, I believe that it's you who is full of tales. But you're kind of funny at times, so I appreciate that you're here too, because everybody needs a resident troll up in the system here. So. Alrighty, I was spending Bitcoin back at 30. It's our future bright. Is our future bright? Yeah, absolutely it is, man. That's the thing. I'm gonna leave it like this, okay? I'm gonna leave this and then we're gonna call it quits tonight because we're already 2.5 hours into this and everybody wants to go to bed. But out of all the crazy and darkness and horrible stuff that is out there, you have to understand, man, we live in a beautiful world full of awesome things that are going to happen, man. I mean, people get worried about the technologies. I'm not, man. Think about the conveniences and the wonderfulness that'll happen that's coming from all these great things that are destined for the future. If we think about it in a way that's going to destroy our lives, that's exactly what's going to end up happening. Our thoughts are our reality. Whatever it is that we are thinking will eventually manifest itself within our realities. And I know this because there was a time in my life I thought to myself, man, I would love to be on stage. I would love to meet Ron Paul. I would like to meet Gio Griffin, right? I would love to do a lot of these things. And simply, I didn't try. Just simply by thinking about them and pursuing some of the things that I've been doing here on YouTube, all those things started to happen and manifest itself. I didn't, I didn't, I didn't try to meet Gio Griffin. Like I was so excited to meet the author from The Creature of the Jekyll Island. And not only did I just get to meet him and shake his hand and say, man, thank you for writing that book because it changed my life. I actually got to sit down and have lunch with him at Hell's Kitchen, right? Some fancy restaurant that like people like talk about all over the world, right? They talk about this fancy restaurant. I sat down and had a meal with him, his wife, my wife, the four of us, right? Patrick was there, but he left. He kept leaving, right? He was going to answer phone. So it was just the four of us who sat there for that afternoon, eating that lunch, eating at that fancy restaurant, eating those steaks. You know, that to me is like, I don't like, I mean, what would you rather do? Like have $1 million and like not experience stuff like that? Or would you rather experience things, right? I mean, shit, I would much rather experience. Like, who cares about money, man? I mean, I got to eat fancy steaks next to one of the, like, next to my hero, I mean, shit, that's like that's worth a lot, on its own. And this thing happens in this world. The future's bright, man. Just think of it as a wonderful place. And I tell you what, man, if you think about it as being a wonderful place, wonderful things will happen. It's just the way it goes. If you look at it as a negative, you think about it as being a negative, you look at all the horrible things that you have going on in your life, you compound those things up, and it just makes it worse. And guess what? That's the entire view of your reality will be this horrible place. Right? It's all about the meaning you give it. And if you change the meaning and think about it differently, literally good things will start to happen. in the forms of what it is that you're thinking. You do have to pursue some sort of excellence, right? If you're in a bad neighborhood, you got to find another neighborhood to be in. You got to work as hard as you can chasing the excellence to get out of your neighborhood and into a new neighborhood. Find a new job, different relationship, different, whatever it is you got going on in your life. It's all about the way you feel and think about it. A lot of times people say, man, it's out of my control. Yeah, a lot of things are out of your control, but there's so much more in control than you know. And a lot of it is just what you're thinking about. All righty, guys. It's been so much fun hanging out here, but we got to call it quits because we all got to go to bed and go to work tomorrow. Well, not everybody. Best Price doesn't have to go to work tomorrow, but the rest of us do. So, all right, Simon, unless it's LED light, your battery might be getting low after nearly 3 hours. No, I've done this before, man. We're okay. Watch. Here, I got the key right here. You wanna bet on it? You wanna bet a Bitcoin? Let's see. Right up, man. No problems. Although it does seem brighter now, doesn't it? So maybe the battery was getting a little low there. All right. Which is all you're over leveraging and buying cars. Okay, moving on. Benny, explore excellence. The bottom of the bottle. All right, bet BTC. Thanks, UE. Yeah, thanks to Django. Thanks to EPR. Thank you, Buzz. And thank you, All Nighter. Thank you, Benny. Yeah, you guys have been great. Thank you, Best Buy, for Best Buy. I keep calling you Best Buy. Best Price. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to keep saying that. Best Price. Thank you for being here and all your comments and everything. You guys are just really awesome. And thank you for all the support. Thank you for everything you guys do, because, man, this has really changed my life, and I really enjoy doing stuff like this, and I can't wait to do the next one. So I'm going to come up with something to do for our members only live stream. I was thinking about covering one of the more recent Fed speeches, but really that Ben Bernanke speech from back in 2009 that Django had suggested is a really good one. It's just that, some of the stuff that they're talking about is a little outdated, and I was hoping to kind of keep us a little bit more current to, try and keep our minds on like what is happening today as opposed to what had happened in the past. But it was a really, really good speech, and, I've gotten through about half of it now. So, all righty, guys. Uneducated Economist. You let me know. Oops. What does that say? The way to... Hold on, I got to read Old Ider's comment there before I stop this. What did it say? You got to wait to preserve best price. Yeah. Can you take down 50 cents? Thanks for the great Thanks, UE. Great explaining as usual. I only saw it as a pump and dump to get more fiat, not as a protected investment to have collateral for debt when the day comes banks let borrowing against it. All right, Benny, I'll read your comment and then I'll quit. You can still pay off your speeding tickets and purchase your Balasinga. How do you say that? Balasingas? At 50 cents. All right. Good night, Simon, and everyone. Good night. All right. Peace out. Peace out.